DM a game of Coyote and Crow at some point.
Oh, sure.
I'm all in.
Sure. Just tell me where to go find it now that it's out.
I believe. I have the rule book myself, but I think it's just coyoteandcrow.net. Yeah.
Coyoteandcrow.net. I'll go get that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, but there are several other things. Real Engines, the movie Rumble, okay? These will show you the role of indigeneity here in music, blues, in film, in Hollywood. What would Hollywood's cowboys do without Indians? Right? We've been iconized, right? Smoke signals, the whole Native American theater.
What
I'm
up, Big
involved
Richie?
with several film festivals. They're all indigenous film festivals. Directly. So we're doing it, but it's just like you. We're like, no, we do it in our own spaces. Being accepted mainstream is no great prize.
Right. I actually
Right?
just posted a
Right?
Malcolm X quote today.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me go to it because it kind of encapsulated everything perfectly. Said whenever you're begging for a chance to participate in that which belongs to someone else, or use that which belongs to someone else on an equal basis with the owner, that's not dignity. That's ignorance.
Huh. Huh.
And what he was talking about is fighting and trying so hard for acceptance in a culture that was never designed for you.
It was not meant for you. Exactly. It's a cannibal. Accept the invitation to dinner and you're in the soup pot, you idiot.
Right.
That's what he meant.
You can't mistake crumbs for a seat at the table. You know what I mean?
If someone offers to serve you, wonder if they
mean.
might mean it in the context of how to serve man.
We live.
So, yep. Or you are. You are. Okay. Where are you at? Here you go. You should show up.
I'm on yours.
It'll show up in a second.
Awesome.
But, so what I've done is, even before Incon got here, is to kind of situate Bannon, including the very suspicious transportation by the CIA right as decolonization is accepted by the United Nations. And how come we don't have a really in-depth movie about this? That he lived long enough to see this happen. You know?
Right.
Hi, Globus.
What up, Globus?
Yeah, I hope all of you
Hey,
Gusty
Globus.
people are going to come in and have this conversation, but meet up, too, to talk about what this whole guild idea is.
Yeah, for sure.
So I said, now here's what happened. I said, okay, let me go look up my black revolutionaries. Well, I mean, I work with Africana Studies, Julian Cooney, a lot. And I thought, yeah, I'll just go look at my references, my resources. I look it up. No, you know what we get? We get revolutionary heroes. And I'm like, no. Not black people who served in a revolutionary war. No. I want black revolutionaries, God damn it. And then I got Cuba, and I went, no, I want, and then I went, Fannin, give me Fannin. Boom, there he goes. Boom, there he is. All right, that makes sense. In the time where decolonization was actually happening, the global ripples in celebration of that the moment of that was globally comparable to the Civil Rights Act being passed. And it fully informed and supported the passing of the Civil Rights Act. It would have embarrassed America in the face of the world because America abstained in the vote to decolonize Africa. That wasn't lost on anybody.
Amazing how often America abstains on votes like that.
So did the UK.
Is my chat emotes only?
You know.
I didn't expect to go raid.
The Netherlands, whatever Dutch was, South Africa, they abstained. Naturally. right?
Thanks,
3 of the
Dave.
biggest, right?
Mm.
Most notorious slave owners and traders abstained. And it was embarrassing.
Hmm.
And this is a part, an era of 5 years where people saw visions, dreams come to life and couldn't believe it. And then there was a scramble to capitalize on it. And as you know, many African countries grabbed that infrastructure, didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
Out of curiosity,
Congo.
UD,
Hmm.
in looking up Black revolutionaries, I'm curious if you came across Fred Hampton or Huey Newton.
No.
No.
Fannin. So it goes in order. It goes black people in the Revolutionary War, then it goes Cuba, and then it goes Black Panthers. And I'm
Hmm.
like, no, no, fucking no, fuck you, Fannin.
Right.
And let's start with him. Was he the first
Nah.
revolutionary black president? No, but he was so articulate.
I think Fannon's unique because he actually had he was a World War II veteran, and
Right.
I don't know. The anti-fascist angle with Fanon is the fact that he was so close to it. I feel like, and
Right.
his area of expertise. You know what I mean? He was a
Right.
psychologist, and
Right.
that's honestly what attracted me to him in the first place. Was trying to
Right.
find some solace. You know what I mean? Because Cornel West talks about the madness and what it is to be a black man and just fighting that constant pressure. And I think one of Fanon's quotes about being a colonized person and like nigritude and living in a world of white supremacy is that if you're sick, that means you're well. And if you're well, that means you're sick. As
Mm-hmm.
in, a lot of the things that we chalk up to what they would call mental illness or things that they
Mm-hmm.
pathologize in us, which is not new, right? There's a thing called drapetomania. For people who don't know what,
Ah,
yeah, just because not everybody's heard that word before. Drapetomania was an illness that they assigned to Africanized or African people who were freed from slavery. That said we couldn't be free because freedom makes us go crazy. That regimen of work and authority is what actually keeps us sane and keeps us well and happy. And when we're free, we have too much freedom and we go crazy. That was drapetomania. And a lot of what we
it,
understand to be like at the time, the way that psychology worked with like the Freud and all that stuff was just pathologizing the natural reaction to oppression and the desire to
exactly.
escape cultural hegemony.
That was a reasonable response to a unreasonable situation.
It reminds me of the pathologizing of hysteria in women around the
Right.
same time too.
Yep. Same exact. Yeah. Same vibe.
Well,
Same
here's
type beat.
something more clear. Papillon. Put in isolation for. I'm thinking it was. I think it was 10 or 12 years in a maximum security prison. So he walked every day exactly the length of his cell. When they, without a word, opened the doors and walked away, left them open, he walked to the door, stopped. He put his foot over the threshold, and he could only walk exactly as many steps as he had been able to walk for 10 years, and then he promptly collapsed. He simply couldn't take another step. It was a cataclysmic breakdown for him. And that's happened to many maximum security prisoners.
Oh, naturally. I mean, Khalif
That's
Browder.
the same thing. The same thing. It happened in South Africa too, after decolonization.
Rest in peace, Khalif Browder. Rest in power.
Eh, yeah. So we have Fanon, we get Roots, we get that. Okay, we get that. But here, Endless has said, which I never forget what people say. Uh, I'm a black revolutionary, and that's why I'm in this space. I want to find other black revolutionaries, and I want to create a space for black revolutionaries here on Twitch. So, boss,
And
tell
also, not
us
even, I was gonna.
what is a black revolutionary? You get to educate us all. This is your stream for at least 15 minutes. Go ahead, just
Right on.
fill it.
I would say that just so because you know how people are on here, you can't be
Mm-hmm,
ambiguous at all.
mm-hmm,
When I say that, it's not just exclusively for Black revolutionaries, just people who are sympathetic to that thought. So, if you are a indigenous revolutionary, a queer revolutionary, trans revolutionary, whatever intersection you're from, the primary focus of my content is just the ability for us to have a space that's not infested with libs or Nazis, because at least in my experience it doesn't really exist here to the
um,
extent that
wow.
people will call like one of the pillars, like the cornerstone of my ideology or my worldview is abolition, right? And
Yes.
people will call me a tanky just because they only understand that as a slur for people that they perceive to be super far left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally want to destroy every prison, and I'm like low key, like my origins are as a Christian, like pacifist anarchist, and you're calling me a tanky because you
Right.
have no idea what that word actually means. But
Right.
Yep.
for me, a black revolutionary is someone obviously from the diaspora. You have
Mm-hmm.
whether you're descended from slavery or not, it's not that important because anti-blackness is global, and even if you are not directly tied to chattel slavery in America, you have experienced the global cultural hegemony of white supremacy, of
Uh-huh.
Eurocentrism.
Uh-huh. 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 The doctrine includes you.
Right.
Yes.
And black revolutionaries to me are people who are first of all aware of that, but also people who are working to deconstruct that.
Uh-huh.
So, and that doesn't necessarily have to be because I always focus on this as well whenever I talk about these things. Much is said about the violent aspects are romanticized. And Fanon talks about violence a little bit too, but the violent uprisings and that kind of stuff is romanticized, but for me and what I would assert is the most radical revolutionary action would be the insurance of, at least in terms of black revolutionaries, and black joy. So just creating spaces where black joy can occur, because for me that's antithetical to black misery, obviously, but also the fact that that goes hand in hand with building dual power, right? Where you make it so that you have everything you need within the community, and therefore you don't need any like government agencies or anything like that. Now, where the violent aspect comes in is the state, especially the United States government, they don't particularly enjoy not having their hands in things, right? It's the reason why we send aid to countries like Ukraine and et cetera, et cetera. It's not because we care out of the goodness of our hearts, and of course by we I mean the State Department, but it's literally just for leverage, right? So a lot of the social programs, it's this is like the nugget of truth in the bullshit that people like Candace Owens spit, is that the Democrats are essentially creating a plantation, right? Just because the United States itself is a giant plantation. Now, your options in terms of Republican versus Democrat is nice massa versus evil massa. But they're both evil. It's just that one person's not going to whip you as hard, and they might
No,
give you
lesser of two
right.
evils.
Yeah, they might give you good food instead of scraps sometimes. And
Mm.
that's just kind of my take on it. And I identify as a black anarchist because of my inspiration. Oh, excuse me. I draw inspiration from Marxist Leninists like Fanon and Fred Hampton and
Mhm.
Huey Newton and the Panthers and so on. But a lot of the people that I truly drew, my main inspiration is Eddie Conway, who I hope I can get to speak to in an interview one day as a fellow Baltimorean. But people like Ashanti Alston, Lorenzo Comboa, these types of people who they weren't as indoctrinated. They didn't see Marxism, Leninism, Maoism as a dogma to be strictly adhered to. They saw it as what it is, a tool to liberation. And when people took advantage of that and tried to essentially assert themselves, like invert the power structure to create these cults and so on and so forth, they stood in opposition to that. And people like Ashanti Alston, who like went to Cuba and were like, oh nah, they're still, it's the whole shit. And this is why I harp on the whole, this is why anti-racism is more or less at the forefront of my politics, is because like I said, like I was saying yesterday, like high-speed rail is all well and good, but if it's whites only, what good is that for me, right? And
You
when
see,
you
you on the mic, all right, but you're on the mic at a KKK rally. What the fucking difference does it make?
exactly right, so it's like if you have this perfect project that's your amazing communist state with your planned economy and
Yeah,
collectivized and high speed rail and all
yeah,
this stuff, but
yeah,
you still
yeah,
hate black people,
yeah.
it doesn't
What have we
jive for
done?
me.
And I was maybe only known for saying one thing: tools of the master. The tools of the master were designed to build his house, so he can keep his fucking tools and his fucking ideas. I know how to build my own house, and I don't need him.
Right.
So my whole take on borrowing the mic is that. Why would I go try to represent indigeneity on the mic in somebody else's house? Whereas we know in Vegas, the house always wins.
And that's the other side of a lot of the debate stuff, right? Is that I very much get the desire to educate people who you would perceive to be lacking in education, but you can't fill a full cup and you can't fill an upside down cup. You know what I'm saying? The people aren't here to
Mhm.
learn; they're here to support their favorite streamer.
Entertainment, because
Yeah,
it was a gamer's platform.
and
A
not
house built for gaming, entertainment.
right. And not for nothing, because we've both talked about how we gain refugees from a lot of these more toxic communities who
Mm-hmm.
play in that space.
Uh-huh.
But in terms of percentage of their entire audience, it's like a statistical anomaly. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's might as well be just like one or two people.
Mm. Yeah, Twitch's online TV is interesting. That they opened it in open categories to allow other people to create their own content. Um, Basically, I was a television producer, so I'm going, yeah, this is just like when public access television and cable television came out, where anybody that could buy the channel could put on, well, Wayne's World, whatever you want to put
Right.
on, right? And Twitch TV is that. It's the same thing. So it's an open platform for content creators, um, for people to get online and share their favorite things. Period. So you see people going over there throwing thousands of dollars a month at something like a Prime Kai panel, but that's their favorite thing.
Right.
You got to contend with that. But that's their house they built for their own shit, man. That's not the club I want to go dance in. You get it?
Right.
They're not playing my fucking music, okay?
But the thing
All right.
I
I
feel
don't
like
want to go. I don't want to go to a boot scooting hootenanny down at the country western bar. All
right.
right. When I got a Latino EDM rave going on down the street, fuck you.
Exactly.
Hey.
And I feel like that's the and that's where people get fucked up a little bit too, I think, is that they see, you know, they perceive these people as gatekeepers of the space, and like to use your
They are,
analogy,
though. They
like
are. They actually. That's the problem.
yeah,
That's the
exact.
problem.
Well, yeah,
They
exactly.
do that.
But
They
that's
got ways. They got ways and means to do that. They holding the keys to the
right,
temple.
right. But
Fuck
the
that.
to follow through with your analogy, you see this
Hmm.
giant, mega, like multi-level, like
Carnival.
3-story club,
Eh.
and that has you see all the people there, and you're like, yeah, I want to be a part of that, because that's where all
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
viewers, that's where all the money is, that's
Hmm.
where the biggest audience is.
Hmm.
But you don't understand that the abandoned warehouse down the street with the
Hmm.
underground rave in it is going to be
It's
way
where
more
it's at.
lit, right? Yeah. And
It's
if
all
enough,
happening over here, but where it's at is down the street.
right, and if you get enough people there who care enough, you can
Correct.
build a multi-level club there.
Well, there you go. There's Gus. If you want to know what Gus is, what he just said. That's
Right.
it. So we built it because of that. And we just want to issue some new keys, if you will.
I'm actually, just as a personal thing, kind of going through something similar in my city right now in terms of DIY spaces for music, because I'm a metalhead. You see I got the Napalm Death shirt on. Like, I'm a
Right.
grindhead. I'm into underground music, and unfortunately 2020 with the lockdowns kind of has exacerbated an issue that we were already having in Baltimore in terms
I
of
know.
the hyper scrutinization on
Hmm.
houses that were used for show spaces and art spaces and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
They were becoming few and far between. And then, of course, once the pandemic hit and everyone had to close and no one could
Hmm.
do anything anymore, those houses were done. So now coming out of that. The only options we have for those types of music, for those types of shows, are the major venues who are like exploitative as fuck towards the
Yeah.
locals, and like all they don't care about the scene. All they care about is making money off of the scene.
It's always been that way. Oh,
And
yeah.
there's been a lot of us creators, like band members and stuff, who are just saying like, damn, like if only we could pull our money together to get a new house, or like that's pretty much what we're doing right now, is just waiting on bated breath for someone to announce a new house venue or the new
Hmm.
underground secret bar spot or whatever, so that
Hmm.
we can stop being forced to fucking spend like $25 to go see 4 bands. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's kind of the same thing here, where like there's good people, there's really good people in these spaces, right? Like Josie Rose C, Maddie Cakes, Merrick DeVille, a lot of people that I myself have interacted with, and I feel like I'm kind of in their class, so to say, on here. But we're forced to mix with your
Right.
negative elements in these spaces because
Right.
there was no Gus. You know what I mean? And now
Oh,
we
there
have.
was, but couldn't people find us? That was
Well,
a
yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah. Right, right,
That
right.
it was a thing that was actively eschewed and ignored,
Right,
almost in a unanimous move, a silent resistance, if you will, and a good deal of sabotage.
right,
And I'm like, well, okay, you close the doors, your doors, stupidly thinking that we were going to go over there and recruit from your communities. And again, the privilege of it, right? I'm like, man, you think too much of yourselves. We're not going over there, right?
right.
The thing that we're bringing here is coming to
What
here
up,
from
Kuno?
outside of Twitch with select streamers who also have a much broader, scope of influence than some little, you know, stream on some little category. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
That it's the real world walking in the door, and they happen to stream,
right.
right?
It makes me think kind of like how I used to be when I first got into metal, like going to school dances and stuff, and they're playing like, top 100 or whatever, DJ, and me just like wanting to troll and be like, I want to play some Napalm Death right now. Everyone in here would be so mad. It'd be so crazy if I just played some Napalm Death right now. And it would make me feel good in the moment. It would be cathartic for me. It'd be funny story, even a good memory. Maybe even a few of my comrades who are also into Napalm Death would enjoy that. But is it going to turn the entire dance hall into Napalm Death fans? That's not how that
But
works.
is that the agenda?
Right. It's very
So
clearly not the agenda with a lot of these people, I
right,
feel like, who say that
that's it.
they want to do that, but really what they want to do is just try to impose their will on spaces where you have no
Mhm.
power, and even if you did, it wouldn't matter because house
They
always wins.
they impose their agenda. It's like a country club.
Right. That's actually a really good analogy, considering
Mhm.
the caucasity.
Wow, Tiger Williams. Why is he suddenly? I don't know what he's doing in my head, but anyway. Um, yeah. But Fannon's statement earlier, linguistics. If you pronounce every letter, you are participating in your own oppression. Furthermore, he said the unpopular take that if you cling to a pidgin in Creole, you're taking a broken version, which is even worse. I'm like, ooh,
Mm.
ooh,
The other thing to
ooh.
remember is that Fanon didn't read, he didn't speak English, so all of his writing was translated. Um, the copy of The Wretched of the Earth that I have has a foreword by
Oh no.
Jean Paul Sartre.
Oh,
But
just a minute. Your buddy Lizard Man?
yeah, I saw the first question, number one. I mean, you can answer, but I've just from what I've seen, number one with CTV, it's just pure indigenous solidarity. Where because I'm the same way with as much shit as I'll talk about people like Prime K and like Black Yamato and them. Just like I told Zonia last night, like if you switch up and you want to play for the actual home team, I'm not gonna tell you fuck off. You know what I mean? It's just I'm literally just waiting for you to stop being goofy so we can do real shit. And you said that you were. I'm not exactly sure the your work that you do with the U.S. government though.
I
So,
don't work with the U.S. government. I'm a consultant. I'm a researcher.
okay.
Okay, so my research has been solicited by the FBI and the Armed Forces think tank because they've both been infiltrated by extremists. So that's all I can tell you about that. But I do not work with the U.S. government.
Hey, Google, lights on.
One
Yeah.
second, because I have no idea how my chat ended up being subscribers only.
I don't know because usually that's not the case.
Yeah, I'm not because I'm not even affiliate or partner. Well, let me.
Well, you are affiliate now, evidently,
Apparently.
or you wouldn't have a sub button. But you have to check your settings to
Damn, I have a sub
followers
button.
only.
If I have a sub
You're a
button, what
made
am I on?
affiliate. You made affiliate. You didn't even know it. How about that?
Well, so here's the thing: is I terminated my affiliate contract. I terminated it 2 years ago,
Well,
and
it once you hit the numbers, they just turn a button on for you.
I get. Well, in
You don't leave it.
fairness, I did email them asking if I could be restored to affiliate because I was like, all right, I have a decent amount of viewership now. Maybe it'd be worth it to throw ads on the channel, but that's bizarre. They didn't notify me or anything.
They
If
usually don't. They turn the light on, and then you'll get. You might have had a different email. Anything could have happened.
yeah, interesting.
Um, but CTV. Your definition of friends is probably either too general or too narrow. CTV, for some reason, thought I was a lefty, so I'm apolitical.
Mm.
All right, and so he made a mistake of thinking I was a lefty, and had Socrates had showed up, and he had a beef with Socrates, and he violated the rules of my stream, which is he crashed the damn panel, crashed the interview, and tried to suck Socrates up into a debate. And then he again crashed an open mic night and tried to start an argument with one of my guests. So he was promptly informed by the moderators that he was, quote, killing the vibe. At that point, he retracted his clause and he became polite. And I thought, well, you know, he showed some respect to the rules in the space and a great deal of curiosity. And that's how we found, oh, he was also indigenous or had indigenous heritage. And he came over on his best behavior, on his good foot, asking some very good questions about our relationship to the U.S. government. Not work with them, but what is the... He did not understand anything about the sovereign relationship through treaty law. And he was extremely surprised to find out, like, my own family's history and relationship. Okay. And he just remained cordial, polite, real. We used to play in an online game community, the same game community, so we got to talking about the good old days of stuff. And, he let me ask him about, tell me about how you feel about your position, Jan 6, and where you're really coming from, So he was pretty forthcoming about all that, and that was all cool. And then he kicked
Dope.
me
Thanks
and
for fixing
Johnny
the
off
chat.
of his server and blew it up and went away and
Yeah, I remember
never
seeing him
spoke
go
to
through
us
that.
again. So I don't know if that qualifies as friends, because friends wouldn't do that. So,
What up, Alina? What's up,
you
country?
know,
Or cunty?
but I coach debate. If you come to me and say, I suck at this, can you help me? Okay, sure. I'll give you feedback. Promise me you'll use it.
My chat is fixed now, so that's
There you
cool.
go. Chat is fit. How is it fit? How did you fix it?
They, I guess, turned off. I don't know how sub only got on, but it's off now. So
It's an automatic setting. If you don't change it, it'll just sit that way. Twitch wants you to be making that black man make that money, boy. They want you to be
right,
making that money,
yeah,
and they sneaky. Apolitical is politics is not, and nor has it ever been my interest or my pursuit. Despite what I know, despite my experience, that is not my pursuit.
I get that. I think the reason why people will clock you as leftist is because we have conversations like we're
It's
having right
because
now.
I'm not waving a Nazi flag. That's the
Right.
only reason.
Yeah.
Now, for some reason, they bounced in here and thought I was part of the alt-right. And I'm like, Jesus,
Yeah. I
just
don't. I
making
don't.
shit up.
I was gonna say I haven't. The
Oh,
if I
say
had.
what? Hold on. Lizard Man, debate coaching, open to any ideology. Okay. It's not about ideology. It's about logic and critical thinking. Now, if your ideology is based on confirmation bias and ignorance, you're not going to be able to learn debate very well, will you? But see, with your politics comes your bias. All right. And your boundaries. So my involvement in treaty law has been lifelong, and my people's and families 500 years. So unless you intend to sit with me and learn treaty law, our political process, it's not going to benefit you to have a political sort of debate here, or what you see what I'm saying? It's not going to, unless you just want me to judge it. And all I'm going to judge is your skill.
Mowdy just said on Twitch, if you're not out here doing Roman salutes and spamming Nazi memes, you'll automatically get clocked as a leftist.
That's what happens. You have to wave a Nazi flag. You have to have a swastika. Right. I'm not a part of the scene. I'm not a part of political Twitch.
And
I'm
that's
a
kind of what.
researcher. I'm
Yeah, I
an
was gonna
instructor.
say
So
the
yeah.
Gus, because most of us tend to be like people with actual expertise and broad lengths of experience tend to be outsiders in the space, and you know, I mean, yeah, it's just it's. I feel
Well,
like there's no real in terms of the debate or like the panel scene within Twitch politics.
mhm.
The scope of platforms is very limited,
Oh yeah.
and they're all based exclusively on view count. It's not anything
True.
they'll grift as educational all day,
Mm,
every day. But in
mm.
terms of how the content is actually curated, the intent is not to inform. The
It's
intent
to
is to profit.
edutainment.
Yeah,
Edutainment,
yeah,
right?
right.
Profit somehow because, and that's tricky because you could have an enormously high viewership. This is not necessarily successful because the majority of people in your chat could either have been raided in or they hate you to death and they're just lurking, waiting for an opportunity.
Right.
So you could have 500 people that hate your guts, but here you think you're succeeding. As you say, on the mic at a Nazi rally. Perfect. That
Because
that makes no sense.
the only thing you're looking at is the view count.
Is the view count.
I did always find it conspicuous that the followed channels that shows up in the on the left side bar on Twitch's main interface is always sorted by view count.
Yep. Which leads into another weird thing.
Yeah.
It was a Dr. Amos Wilson quote. Speaking of, while we're on this Black Revolutionary shtick, a couple days ago, I heard it and it stuck with me. The fact that in America, equality is measured by income and not by actual wealth, right? So if I make
Mhm.
$100,000 a year at my job, but someone else owns an apartment complex that gains them $100,000 a year, completely different forms of
Yep.
making $100,000 a year, right?
Your net worth,
Right. But the
right, and then your liquid assets. These are two different things.
But the reason why they do it that way is because in a capitalist system, capital is power, and they don't want
Uh-huh.
to actually give you real equality. They just want to bribe you to shut up about your oppression.
Yeah, and upper class tax bracket is surprisingly low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
anybody can do that.
what's really interesting is there was a they act when they first came up with the income tax system, the idea was to give people an identity of taxpayer, and that
Not as a
interestingly
worker,
ended up
non-binary superpowers. I
disadvantaging,
don't think my
you know,
job is
the
oppressive. It's oppressive to me, but I don't think I oppress anyone
non-Anglo,
else.
non-Western, non-European descended people, because white folks tended to earn more,
Oh
and
god,
so it
yeah.
ended up giving a sort of racial solidarity in that they are all taxpayers, which was just another way to kind of
A
divide
wolf skeptic.
you know divide the people who own the shit from the people who didn't.
Right. The only actual two classes.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
people who own everything and the people who rent from the people who own everything.
Something like that. Yeah. And then if you're poor or you're on public assistance, it's might as well be debtor's prison.
Makes sense, Numberry. Right.
You're almost punished, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, if we look at stuff like like the black codes and Jim Crow and the modern day prison industrial complex, it pretty much is. Well, if you have a black legalist mindset, just being black is illegal. But being black while doing other things rather. But yeah, a lot of that shit is made up just to get you in jail. So like vagrancy laws, um,
Hmm.
you know,
Property is theft.
Driving
property
while
right.
black, as I've heard it said.
DWB. Oh
Driving
yeah.
while black. Holy shit. Try
Right.
that on. Driving while indigenous. DWI. It's even, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That I
That's it.
showed I had my who's a Desi friend here who actually shout out to Ripping Headaches Promotions. My boy Hassan, one time we were going to see the band Sleep up in Philly, and we got pulled over, just leaving because he lived near me at the time with his folks, and we got pulled over. Police pulled up behind him while he was driving, and I was like, "Damn, yo, we caught a DWB." He's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Driving while brown or driving while black."
Uh-huh.
Mowdy just said DUI, driving undeniably indigenous.
With an Indian car and everything with one headlight. It's perfect. Yeah. Big old dream catcher on the, instead of the dice. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how they catch people, especially here in Baltimore.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
they look for people with one headlight or a broken mirror or anything like that, and then they'll search you. And
Uh-huh.
that was another thing that I read recently in a stream that I did about the Baltimore Police Department, because in 2015, Freddie Gray was killed by police. One of the police officers who killed him used to babysit me, which is weird, but in the aftermath of that, because of everything that happened with the police essentially corralling the kids into a giant, tense and volatile situation, as the word I was looking for. I'm really satisfied with myself. I was able to think of it that fast. But but in the aftermath of that, the Department of Justice then got involved because Obama was still president, or he was winding down his presidency. So the DOJ got involved and decided that they were going to do investigations into multiple local police departments. Baltimore Police Department was obviously one because Freddie Gray's death was sensationalized in the media at the time with the uprisings that happened in the aftermath of it. But also, I believe it was San Francisco PD. There was a few other police departments across the country that the DOJ investigated. But what they found,
LAPD.
what they found was that directly from the top brass, right? The top brass would straight tell their subordinate officers, like, look, go out there and just do Terry stop and frisk, and just get statistics. To the point where just the charge of loitering, like, they have their own memes and culture around the fact that you just say someone's loitering if you want to pull them up. And
Yeah, exactly.
to the point where, like, they'll arrest children. They arrested one of the examples, like they like punched this like 12-year-old boy in the face and arrested him while he was sitting on his own porch and
I
charged
remember
him with
that.
loitering. Yeah.
I remember that.
But what they also found out was all that stuff is
Jesus.
obviously disproportionately targeted towards black people.
People of color, black
Right.
people mainly. There are
And
more of you than there are of us, and that's actually probably the only reason.
right. There was multiple things they addressed. The fact that 25% of the Baltimore City population lives below the poverty line. 98% of that is black people. They will essentially pull your car over and search you, and it happens so frequently, but the amount of times it actually produces any charges or any actual contraband is discovered is like 1 to 5 with the white counterparts in the city, but the white people get searched like 8 times less. It's like an insane number.
These are well known, but anybody who grew up in, say, the projects, yeah, it's well known. Statistics help, but the reality is not changed.
Some dumb just said, I'm sure that's a glitch that liberalism will fix in 200 or so years. Yeah.
Dude.
Just got to pull the knife out inch by inch. You know what I mean? There's another Malcolm X quote. You don't stab me in my back 8 inches, pull the knife out 6 inches, and call it progress.
Exactly. That's exactly.
But pulling the knife out slowly, letting you bleed out. It's like
Right.
bloodletting. You got to get all the toxins out.
Right. I could probably sit here and fucking just like spam the chat with anti-liberal memes and discourse and quotes from black revolutionaries, but I try to keep that shit to a minimum just because, or at least now, like, I hate libs, I truly do, but I at least passively try to reach out to them in terms of, I always focus on the thing that I always ask people: what are you offering them?
Yeah.
And I'm very honest about what I have to offer. I don't have much to offer. If you are a person who is aware of your white privilege and enjoy it, or unaware of your white privilege and that's just kind of the society you fuck with and you're into, I can't really compete with that. What I can offer is good times and like a fun Discord and like a fun Twitch stream and some funny content, right? And I feel like if people were more honest about that, it would probably
Right.
change a
Yeah.
lot of the way that they operate when it comes to doing
Right.
this work on these
Yeah.
platforms. But yeah, I tell people up front, like I essentially try to make people aware, and then you hit a crossroads, right? Or like, okay, they're aware of it, and they understand their culpability. Now, are they actually going to put in the work and take that leap where they jump the fence and subject themselves to all the shit that they saw happen on the other side of the fence their entire life?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they going to straddle the fence? Because sometimes that's the best you can get, but that's also not useful. But the other thing you have to
Well,
remind people of that do that is that a side will be chosen for you, right? Um,
just like they're trying to do here. They try to do in my chat.
right. Because there's
And
some
it never ends well. I'll just say that much. It
right.
doesn't ever end well.
Because
You lose. The
Right.
fish gets away, dude. Yeah.
I've seen some streamers try to do the thing where they try to do what we're doing and join us in these conversations, but then they'll also do the Nazi PR circuit. You
And
know
they
what I
get
mean?
pulled into that because that's where the fun is
They get drama
for them.
farmed there. They get drama farmed
Yeah.
there exclusively for the sole reason that they interact with us, right?
Oh yeah.
And you have to, and that's the fucked up thing on our end is, like I've said multiple times, is that I'm actually about what I say I'm about. So if we have a private
Right.
conversation and I like the cut of your jib, then essentially
And sail on.
right, yeah, right. Essentially, you will always have a place in my community, right? No matter who you are, as long as you're not a Nazi or you don't support white supremacy, or you at least are down. You have revolution on your mind, to quote Fred Hampton. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Change. And two concerns: racism and freedom. Because
But
you all
it's
sail in the same boat, same way.
but it's the thing that I constantly find myself having to harp on is the intersectionality of it. Is that people are just like, I have to remind people that as black and indigenous people exist on the bottom of the ladder, we're the bottom rung of the ladder. Whatever advances we make will be made for all people and all identities, right? Because we intersect with everything. There's black and indigenous trans people. There's black and indigenous mentally ill people, or
Neurodivergent.
neuroatypical people. Yeah, neurodivergent. There's black and
Indigenous
indigenous.
politicians and
Yes,
scholars and
right, right,
everything
right.
you do, we do, right? It's the same.
You can put that whatever like lib identity politics
Ugh,
advocacy you want to do, you can slide black and or indigenous in front of that and it be
somewhere.
completely the same, right? So it's just like with feminism, right? Or it's like, if your feminism's not for black women, then who the fuck is it for? So it's like I have to
That's a
constantly.
classic division, dude.
Right. So because, and people will intentionally misread that, where because I talk about black revelation so much, they think that I'm on like black Israelite time. And I guess I don't really help, because I'll ironically use me, like I'll meme like slurs like Yakubian and shit talking about white people. But like it 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 sucks that I have to put in so much work to like that. It sucks that the cultural hegemony is so thick that
Oh,
as soon as they're not the center of the conversation, even if it's about stuff that they would benefit from, they're not into it. You know what I mean?
it's what it is. Is why is it that for us, for my people, everything has to be so fucking hard all the time? And what I sense is that you got I don't like to use the phrase because it sounds like some sort of defeat, but as we say, uh, put through the ringer.
Yeah.
And also, I think lizard, that kind of language in question, seems like people who got into a crucible, all right, that turned you into something you wasn't meant to be,
Oh yeah.
and
We kind of
like
had that
like the
conversation last
newbie
night.
in Among Us. It sounds like y'all got dumped into the disposal.
Yeah,
And got definitely burned out and turned the fuck off. But that is my big fucking problem. That's what I mean about they have the keys to the temple.
Yep.
They actively recruit, just like the stupid extremists will go out and actively recruit. And anybody that has a conversational style, they patrol chats, and they drag you over into these circles. They tried to do that shit to me.
Right.
And so when they first opened political Twitch, there was the whole leftist quote movement, and they were actively recruiting like hippies, handing flyers out on the bullhorn. And everything was come to the party, the Black Panther party, right? I'm like, whoa, wow, a real movement. Oh man, these people, they know so much, they're well versed. That's impressive, and that's the bullshit. This is a fucking social. This is like, what's that movie? Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this shit?
It's
I was
it's
like,
it's
what?
not even Breakfast Club. It's just straight
It
Mean
was it
Girls.
was it was shit like debate without critical thinking. Blew
Oh
my
yeah.
mind. And I went,
Oh yeah.
no, dude, that's not how this works, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
That's
It
kind of the
was
reason why.
hypocrisy across the board, and it was that double speak where accommodation, diversity in some form, but you're not one of us.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
don't
That's
shift the narrative. It was all kinds of shit like that, and I went, I don't think you understand politics.
It's
Actually,
literally like children who see adults speaking and then want to imitate them,
Right.
so they just
Oh my
repeat the things that they
god,
say. Because that's
I
kind
flat
of
out, I flat out said on stream, I said, listen, my impression is I don't think they ever actually graduated high school. I think they're still back in high school because
yeah.
that was their glory days on the football
Right.
team and on the debate team, and now they get to be popular and they're
Right.
paying to be with the A-list. And I'm like, it's just like when we used to hold these after parties for the basketball teams and shit, and in Hollywood, and people would pay at the arm, to get in, just to get in the door at the event because you know what I mean. They was trying to be next to the shiznit, right? And I'm
Right.
like, dude, ain't nobody. They're gonna ask you to go fetch coffee. Just watch what you're
Oh
doing.
yeah.
All right, you don't understand, right?
Yeah, but
And
that's but you describe the situation pretty much perfectly though. That's why my mod team, whether we're talking about Big Richie or Fade, a lot of the people that I brought with me that were like my close IRL friends who I
uh-huh,
modded who mod for me now are super weary, like super burnt because that's
I
literally
can
what happened.
see that,
I
and
came into the
I
space
understand it, and I
and
feel bad, and
that's
I
why we got to
feel
do
really
Gus
hurt to
is so
watch
that
this.
yeah,
I'm real
people
sorry that this happened.
because we can't prevent it from happening to anybody else, but we can at least create
You
a
can
place for people to go if it happens to them. You know what I mean?
okay.
Because these
Being
platforms are
being
going to be huge, but
Oh yeah.
essentially, I want to. So, what happened with me was I fucked up because I didn't do my research, right? I just
How
had.
could you
Right. Well, yeah, that's
research
true.
around the propaganda?
True. Well, I didn't
Listen,
watch
if
any
you
of the debate panels before I went on the recruitment. That's where I fucked up because I feel like if I would have watched like 5 minutes of any, right?
oh,
Because my thing is I'm like an old school political content in terms of the internet consumer. I was on YouTube back in the 2010s and late 2000s, watching people do videos and then response videos, and then maybe eventually someone would do a YouTube video of you on like a Skype call together, one on one, having a debate. That's actually moderated with a neutral and educated and equipped moderator, someone who's equipped to do that job.
you got to have training to do. I can
Right.
tell you as a professional conflict resolution, but you have to have some training.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have thick skin because you do have to sit and field the most heinous, horrific uh, 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 okay, language and shit being aimed at you. Um, and it has to roll off you like water off a duck's back
Right.
because you got a purpose there. You a fixer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you have to be the toughest fucker at the table. It's like being a union table man. Okay, you understand to resolve dispute. Right? If your goal is to actually resolve a dispute, meaning get to some sort of progress. But go look at international politics, which is more what I could talk all day to you about what happens nation to nation outside the country all day long, but nobody gives a shit about that. So, when you say it's not a victory, but at least it's better than it was the last time we sat, and so I'm like, no, 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 stick a fork in it, bitch. It's done. What is wrong with you? Dragging us on,
Dragging it out.
dragging us into your
Dragging it
political
out.
process. What
Shout
the
out-
fuck?
Shout out the paradigm shift.
Paradigm show. Okay. Oh yeah, hit the shout out.
Or share
My
paradigm
shout out-
shift.
Yep. My shout out don't work. The command works, but it won't show up on the stream.
That's
But if y'all
you
want to
don't.
throw the link,
I was gonna say you don't have to actually shout them out. Just do. It's a thing.
No,
I
I'll
love
do
shouting
that.
out the people I respect, and it's a you understand it. You want to bring the whole team with you wherever you go. So
you represent. Yeah, you reflect on your team anywhere you go. Same, vice versa. I had to manage, musicians, and athletes, dancers, and yeah, talk about saying stupid shit on the mic. Holy shit, there was so much damage control. I had to have liability insurance on these fuckers.
damn,
Because
my camera.
if they said some dumb shit to a journalist who caught him with the wrong moment with a little square inch of tinfoil in their back pocket or some dumb shit, oh fuck,
Yeah.
go get them, get them out of the limousine now. All you see is like shoe prints on the windows and shit. You're like, ah! I'm not lying. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. I get it. You're a big rock and roll star. I get it. Right, right. Listen, there's a contract, and let me tell you something.
Right. Let me show you what I
You
printed.
are
real
making
quick,
us
'cause
look bad.
I just remembered to show you what when I finished my print earlier today. If my camera would actually
How can I
work.
get my sound alerts to work again? My shout out sound alerts stopped working. Anyway, somebody help me out later on. I got to get that back.
Yeah, if you're around at some point during the day tomorrow, reach out and I'll help you with that.
Okay.
Nice.
I'll try to see if I can get it fixed.
Yeah, I'm the tech guru of some small part of left Twitch. So
We got a lot of those.
yeah,
Shout out to OG Prodigy.
Yes.
Mm.
Pasadabot. Okay, that's all I got to say.
A shout out to Dr. K, because I think Dr. K was talking about editing and doing stuff for, I feel like, being part of the GUS, part of that infrastructure, you know what I mean?
Ooh, God, that would be awesome. Some of the people with the tech skills, though, we understand their time and their expertise is very valuable. So we we kind of simp around and go, you don't think you might be able to just kind of come in? We're very
Right.
cautious to try to tie them up essentially because
Right.
well,
But
I'm
also,
always happy to help with tech stuff when I'm available.
because
So.
That's a
I was
technical-
actually going to make
Okay.
that point, that we also, in terms of like the GUS thing, because this show is a 3-piece, right? There's us, the streamers, of course, but just as crucial is the mods and the editors.
Yeah. Jesus, the mod.
Because a lot of these people, their content is mid, but they have such proliferation because they have editors ready to actually make YouTube content and thumbnails and that kind of stuff for them.
Right, which I don't. I can't afford
Whereas-
them.
Right, not a lot of us can't, and even if a lot of us have the expertise to do that, I don't have the time. Like I have a full-time job that sucks the fucking life out of me. So
I could edit my own as a film producer, television producer, but I don't have the software and I don't have the time.
right,
So I have to stand there and tell some editor or engineer. This is how I want it to be. And that's tedious as fuck. You know. And you have to communicate a vision. All right. And that editor has to be able to get your vision and do it without having to check constantly. Because they can't stop and ding you every 5 minutes. How do you like this? How do you like that?
Right.
It's like a cook that never actually serves you the dinner you ordered. They just keep making it for you and asking you how you like it. I'm like, how I would like it is free and to go. Can you do that? Okay, bye-bye. I got it. We're good now. Okay, yeah. No, I'm taking the name off this motherfucker because I could have done that shit myself. Fuck it. You know? I mean, no cred for you. Bye.
What is
You know,
up with my camera? My camera is suddenly busted on me.
stuff. It's just stuff. It's Twitch
It's
being a shit. It's just
always
being a
something.
little bitch. Yeah. It's the Twitch bitch. It's the Twitch bitch. It happens. It's Moon Lodge. It's funky. It's going on that way. Being depressed is well, yeah.
That is true, though. You will
Like that's not
burn-
even funny, but yeah.
There we go. There's the
and-
USB
Yeah,
port.
and listen. Oh, okay. I thought
Is it
maybe
who?
sometimes people will try to use the same camera they're using in OBS and not realize that.
Yeah, someone actually told me that trick fairly recently. Is you can deactivate the camera in your properties in OBS, and then you can use the camera in Discord. And then whenever you're done using the camera in Discord, you can reactivate the camera in Slavs. But here's the print.
It's in a Discord.
Nice, Hello Kitty, love it.
Oh, it came
something
out.
very disturbing about Hello Kitty recently, which is that Hello Kitty is not a cat.
Yeah, she's
It
a
is-
person. She's a human.
Yeah,
She's a human.
is
She's a
human.
mascot.
Much like oh shit. What
She's
is the
a
name of the-
Japanese girl who is, or
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry, she's a British girl.
Oh, and now I'm trying to remember the small mouse that lives with a human family is in fact a human that just looks like a mouse.
Stuart Little, yeah.
That's the one I'm thinking
Yeah,
of. Yeah.
Stuart Little
Hello
came out of
Kitty
a, yeah.
is Stuart Little.
Stuart Little and Hello Kitty both came out of a woman's vagina. Sweet dreams.
Yep. So, you know, if you ever wanted to have nightmares
Yikes.
about some of the cutest characters on the planet, there you go.
Where's the Hello Kitty finished print? I'll show you guys. I forgot I didn't show you guys on my cam here.
Looked like you made a cup out of it.
It's a planter, because you know, the
Oh, gotcha.
fam, these are the white girls around here about to be doing gangbusters with these.
Oh, I bet. And you did it in pink filament. I mean,
Well, I did it in red, but I'm going to get... There's this proto-pasta filament that's like see-through, sparkly pink and purple.
There you go.
ooh,
So-
nice.
I have a roll of white, so that'll be... And it's PLA, so you can paint it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Just need a little bit of what's the primer?
Right. Honestly, I need to recalibrate my printer because you can. I don't know if you can see. There's a little Z wobble. You can see kind of like a grid pattern on it, but it's other than that.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but it's still
Yeah.
prints. Like I feel like it just did that because I printed it with. I don't think I did supports properly. So, but it's. I mean, people said they'll pay $15 for these. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing when I was reading up on it is sometimes during the setup of the Ender 3, the Z screw that controls the up and down motion, they don't always, or like people don't always pay very close attention to the alignment with the guide rail.
Oh
And so
yeah.
if that's wobbled one way or the other, that can cause some weirdness in your prints. And like if the screws that hold the Z motor to the main gantry aren't tight, you can sometimes get a little bit of wobble in there after a few prints. So
Yeah.
something should be quick and easy to check.
Yeah, I was gonna
What?
get just a like a CR10 or something, but because I am a complete nerd and I DIY everything, I was thinking about doing Ender Extender. But good night, Alina. Thanks for coming through. I appreciate you.
Oh, I know Alina came over here once to buy. So let me get you back on what our stream is about.
Yeah, sorry. Got
No, that's
distracted.
okay because the 3D printer, I'm gonna get the three of you together. With the other Downer who has the 3D printing company. I want to hook y'all up and
Nice.
let y'all talk together professionally. But which is also a Gus thing too. But yeah.
I'm
So
about the bag chase.
everything you're saying is like this is the conversation that you had with Zonia, which was like I was like, don't get into a fight, right? But
I
y'all
was
didn't.
trying so hard not to.
Well, that's all I asked is that you try. Speaking of whose house it is,
Right.
but the reason I was like, oh, okay, I get this, is because, as I said, especially when we formed Gus, this is a while back, the first generation, I should say, of those people. That was the continuous, constant. We deliberated. How do we handle ourselves? How do we negotiate this space? Who's gonna go where? When is it okay to be on the panels? When is it not? We had to, and what we did collectively is we checked in with each other and discussed it first as a family and said, listen, I have an opportunity. What do you think? Because if I go there, right, I'm over there in an enemy camp, if you will. Should I do that? Everybody went and did their research. And it was like this. If you said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take that opportunity, all right? The deal was all the other Gussies had to show up to support you. And if crap went sideways, they would, depending on what kind of panel, right? They would get on the panel with you.
I see.
Not to start a fight, but to make sure you were there with your friends. That a good friend will visit you in jail, but your best friend is sitting on the bench with you.
Right.
So we would sit on the bench. And then when we had our little word, our little code word, it was bye, and collectively we left. And that's how we did it. And it was quickly a mutual consensus that it's just not worth it. That
Yeah.
it benefited none of us to go on those high profile panels.
It's exhausting.
If they were so valuable, it benefited none of us in any way, shape, or form, except we would get some jackass over here sniffing us out, stealing our content and our ideas, recruiting our community and chat members. That's what we got for it. And that was it. We said, no, fuck you. That's not the way the game is played. And that was it. We just permanently dissociated ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
That kind of seems like the move, honestly.
Well, we didn't shit on actual friends, but we permanently dissociated. And it was, how come you never go there? Why the fuck would I? Why don't you ever come over here? Why are you so fascinated? Over there. You narrowing my options?
Downer.
Is that what's going on? Why don't you ever come over here? Oh, I get it. And then they would say, they're not smart enough. They're not smart enough. I said, then get the fuck out.
Black revolutionaries.
Can't
Do we
believe
talk
it.
about the bad ones too?
Yeah, Downer, there's the
Go for
3D
it.
printers. But you'll have that conversation later.
What up,
But
down there?
Okay.
this is the other one. The three of you do 3D printing.
Because
So go do that when you need to. Right.
I was gonna say, because he mentioned the bad ones, I would be remiss if I didn't mention people like Eldridge Cleaver, who honestly probably should have never been allowed into the fucking Black Panther Party in the first place, because he was a rapist
Well,
and a piece of
yeah.
shit. But
That's like Twitch, right?
yeah, but I mean,
He turned into the thing on you. And,
yeah. I mean, it's people like, I'll say people just keep very strange bedfellows, and that's all I can really say about it without
Yeah.
speaking, pontificating way too hard,
Ex-alt writer, also person of color. It gets a little hectic in there.
See?
Ex-alt-writer, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, beast.
So
He was one of the subjects in the extremism research.
So I actually, I used to be an ANCAP. I talk about this a little bit, but so I have throughout my entire life identified as an anarchist. Initially, just as an aesthetic, right? Because I liked punk music and I liked Giant Mnemonic and I was a techno punk and the earliest, and I mean like the very first principle, like as a literal shitting my diapers child. Well, not shitting my diapers, but like as a literal like single digit age child, was that information should be free. So the idea that you have to pay for stuff like books or school or stuff like that was utterly repulsive to me. So from the get, I knew I was an anarchist, but I didn't understand. I had no theory behind it, and what ended up happening was, I discovered Stefan Molyneux on YouTube. Remember, I said I was an OG. Yeah, I was an OG. Like political content consumer from back when the anti SJW shit, the Brianna Wu, and all
That
that
sounds
shit.
like my story, dude.
Yes,
That's crazy.
when that shit first popped off, that was me. I found it was Stefan Molyneux had a video called "The Story of Your Enslavement" that essentially, softly, it doesn't lean super heavy into it, but it explains the United States. It's a lot of leftist, what pseudo leftist rhetoric, right? So it explains the United States government or states in general as farms and human laborers as cattle on those farms. And I thought it was fucking heat because I had the intrinsic knowledge and like the subconscious understanding of the hegemony, but I hadn't been exposed to that theory yet. So when Stefan Molyneux was talking about how we're all cows on this farm, I thought that was fucking ether. So I subscribed and I was all in for a minute. I would say probably like 6 months to a year. I was I was donating to Free Domain Radio. Like I was in it to win it. And I honestly couldn't even tell you how I got out of it. I joined the Satanic International Network. From the dude Zach. Also, he's now known as the 50 hits of acid guy on YouTube because he told a story about one time this dude dropped 50 hits of acid on his tongue. But he seemed like somebody very early that I respected just because I've always had a deep respect and an admiration for the salt of the earth type people, like people like me. Motherfuckers who were Uber drivers, cab drivers, short order cooks, servers,
Dishwashers,
right? Baristas, all that. So I vibed with him, and I joined his network, and it was this like social media. It was very similar to like almost like it's like a clone of Facebook, but heavy on the satanic imagery. And I was into like individuals anarchism and stuff. And there's another person whose name I can't remember who talked a lot about like a little bit of lefty stuff, and I found him more. Yeah, I found him more interesting than Molyneux, and then just kind of stopped paying attention. And then later on, I found out he was just like straight up doing He was with because I discovered a dude named Skeptical Heretic.
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah, I love the Skeptical Heretic. I love the Skeptical Heretic back in the day. Watching him shit on like the race realists, because that's the other thing is like these people like those types of people will never go away. Doesn't matter how many highlight reels and dunks and all these stuff that you think you do on them that you're bagging up off of. You're making cool content, cool. They have been on the internet since the dawn of the internet, and they're always going to be here. They're just going to call themselves something different. So like the racialists or the race realists or the identitarians or whatever they decide to rebrand themselves as, right?
Eugenicist.
Right, yeah, right. So because I would see Skeptical Heretic go back and forth with, he was going by Fringe Elements at the time, but he's Alternative Hypothesis now on Cozy. And he was legit just straight up doing phrenology. Like black people have lower IQs because they have smaller skulls and smaller brains. And, Skeptical Heretic was just like shitting on him, just absolutely fucking shitting on him. And the final straw for me was when I saw Molyneux repeat one of those talking points. I forget
Yeah.
who show. He was on like Dave Rubin or something like that, and was talking about how black people have smaller skulls, different brain sizes, and I was also someone sent me some GamerGate shit. It was like from Internet Aristocrat or something, and when it was just about the video game journalism, I was like, hell yeah, ethics and journalism. And then I realized what it was, and I was like, I got to get the fuck away from these people. And
You were
Mhm.
smarter than I was.
the other thing was
Smarter
that
than I was. So
I was gonna say the other thing was that I am like a not like a super hacker, but I had one of my best friends was this dude named I won't dox him and say his name, but he went by MX. His uncle was from back in the day, from India, from back when there was like 5 hackers in the entire fucking planet in the 90s and shit. Showed him how to do all this nutso stuff. And another friend whose name was Han, who actually ended up getting doxxed on 4chan. His name is Mike Major, but we were you know, it's statute of limitations and all that. We were selling drugs. We were selling a little bit of bud, a little bit of weed, a little bit of acid, a little bit of shrooms off of Silk Road. And this was during Occupy. So Occupy Baltimore was happening, and I was familiar with some people organizing Occupy. And that's when I first got my first taste of actual like socialism and communist rhetoric and stuff. But I had been pretty staunchly anti-communist, just anarchists, up until in 2016, some the Wolves of Vinland were basically trying to infiltrate the metal scene here, and I ended up getting into a fist fight with one of them, and a bunch of crazy shit happened, and you know, that's when I was like, okay, I'm team left, you know what I'm saying? I might be fucking with this Marxism, Leninism, Maoism a little bit.
me, they didn't. I had the similar experiences, but I didn't come out with the right opinions like you did. So you know, we got fucking Steven Crowder, we got Sargon of Akkad, you know, Viced Rhino,
That
early
kind of-
Viced Rhino though.
That kind of content's like as a man of color, like I don't know if you're black or not, but like, and
I am. I'm Black Rican.
okay, so you know, so you've played the dozens before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that type of content is it's obvious why that shit is appealing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Kind
It
of
just-
surprised
it,
no
you
one has
know-
mentioned Armored Skeptic yet.
Armored
Right.
Skeptic. I was about to get to him as I talked about the ex-queen of 4chan, Miss Boxy herself, Shuan Head. We all forget. We all seemingly forget when Shuan Head was the most right of everyone, and literally hailed as the queen of 4chan back in the early 2000s.
Wait,
And then
how does that measure up to Butthole Girl on Is Anyone Up? I'm just asking for a friend, you know.
asking for a friend. And then so you know you get Armored Skeptic, you get Viced Rhino, you know you get Sargon. They're all you know. I deconverted from a cult, and
Okay.
you know so it came from you know they throw a lot of that alt-right rhetoric in you know the Gamergate era, you know, and so you're getting fed you know facts and logic, and you're like and then you don't take the extra step to be like ooh editorializing you know what I mean. And so that kind of spun me down. Now we're listening to Joe Rogan. Now we're you know regurgitating some heck off commie stuff. You know, it wasn't until the pandemic hit actually.
Yeah.
You brought up the Satanic Church. Actually, I bumped into Matt Dillahunty.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and that experience. I became a devout fan after that. I devout using it facetiously, right? But I became a big fan after that.
What was that
and,
show called? Was it The Atheist Experience? I think it was called.
It sure is, bro.
Yeah,
It
I
sure
used to
is.
fuck with that show so heavy. You don't even understand.
Mhm.
I was a religious watcher, no pun intended.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
after kind of getting exposed to that and seeing that, you know, hey, there's left ideas in the anti-religion space too, because that was the thing that really got me into it. I'm like,
Right.
these ideas must be right because clearly, you know,
Mhm.
screw Big Daddy in the sky. You know what I mean?
Right. Same.
And so
I've
I
actually.
ended up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, weirdly enough, I've actually kind of come around on that. Like functionally, I'm an atheist, but like I'm a little bit more. I've embraced tradition, so to say, in terms of some of the religious stuff, just because my perspective on it is different now. Is that it looks like
Yeah.
Christianity, but it ain't that.
That ain't it. I also very recently have started like doing things like praying again, but I keep it very very
Talking to the ancestors,
secular
you know what I mean?
humanist. Yeah, exactly. You know, just they say that Catholics have like the most issues like deconverting
Oh
because
yeah.
of how like deep rooted, you know, all of that stuff is, and I find that it does bring me peace. I really hate it, but
The
so I've
Jesuits
also
talk about that.
similarly,
You give them a children, they'll give you a Christian for life.
yep. Hmm.
Oh, we know that
Um,
very well. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you know.
Uh,
Yeah, they fucked y'all. Literally,
uh,
literally, like.
awful. Awful. That's okay. We have a collection of fingers and ears, so you know.
True.
Facts. And Cobb. That's so cool. And then we also have, that's, yeah, what's up, Cub? How have you been?
I've been doing all right. How have you been?
Well, long time no see, you know. I'm stepping
Indeed.
up in the world. Things have been getting better.
Mhm.
I am
Nice.
firmly under the bourgeois boot as a blue collar factory worker nowadays.
Hey, let's go. I'm a
Mm.
forklift driver.
Hell yeah,
Eh?
bro! I'm a fucking unloader in a glass plant.
Hey, let's go.
Hey, it's
Real
tight, bro.
proletariat vibes.
Yeah, bro.
Yep.
Actually, so I'm low key trying to organize a union right now, which is hard in
Let's
Florida. But if I get
fucking
it done
go.
before they know anything, then we got some sweet music, bro. Some sweet chin music.
Based.
That's what you like to see. You
Yeah.
love to see it.
I've
You love
always
to
been
see it.
I've always been a white collar tech worker, but you know, it's one of those jobs where, you know,
You still working
I'm
class, man.
essentially just glorified tech
Yeah,
support.
man.
Oh yeah, no,
Mhm.
I know I'm working class. I don't own shit, but
You're with us,
Mhm.
yeah,
buddy. Welcome.
it's one of those jobs where you know, it pays decently well, but you
That's a
still
deep
get the
feel, Kenny
shit kicked
Krieger.
out of you every damn day.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
mean, that's my job right
I
now.
worked that side forever.
Yeah, my job. The dock is hot as fuck. The pay is exploitative as fuck. The conditions are shit. But I
Mhm.
know that there's people who would die if I don't do my job. Like high
Mhm.
key, straight up. Like we
Yeah,
were during the
I did
pandemic.
64 hours yesterday or last week.
We were getting freight. Last year we had freight that I could see the address on it. It was going to Moderna, or it was going to AstraZeneca, or it was going to Pfizer. Like,
Yeah.
there's mad shit that I've moved in there. It sucks because I move millions of dollars worth of shit daily and get paid $16 an hour, but it's cool in a sense that it's just that deep sense of pride that you get as a worker, as a man, as whatever, that fucking you have directly, you can actually notice your contribution to society. You know what I mean? Your
Yeah.
place in your community and shit, all that, whatever.
And that's actually pretty
Green
rare
tea
these
coffee.
days because, you know, Marx's concept of alienation has just shot through the damn roof.
Right. Every fucking thing is alienating now.
You know what I find really funny? I live in a small town in Florida, um, and I'm pretty vocal about my communist beliefs, right?
Mhm.
And I run into a lot of people who are like, "Communist doesn't work." Oh Mao, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
come on, bro. Like,
So
we
to
tried fucking when we still use drills to relieve fucking headaches. Come on, like.
right. So to circle back to that, because you came in, you asked about the bad ones, and because I gotta say that, like, it's important to live your principles. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you say that you're for liberation, you're for revolution, and all that stuff, it's got to be for everyone. And like,
Mhm.
Eldridge Clear was on some weirdo shit talking about how he was like wanted to like run up in white neighborhoods and like rape white women and shit like that, and was
Oh
like
God.
practicing on.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Reclamation, but the
Yeah.
bad way.
right,
Yeah.
right. And it's
Wow.
just like it's
Wow.
crucial to make sure that, like, the whole point is that we're not when we think about things, it's not from an individualistic standpoint. We're thinking about it as, because if you think of yourself as an individual and not part of a community, it doesn't make it true. It just makes you a shitty member of that community, right? It makes you a selfish
Yeah.
asshole. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about figures like Mao, you gotta like they'll be like, but Mao was a tyrant, whatever, and it's like you believe in evolution even though Charles Darwin fucked his cousin. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can definitely because they and it comes from like how Americans are taught with the cultural hegemony where
Uh-huh.
there's this whole mythology around the founding fathers. So they have to view all figures
Mhm.
through that lens, right? Where
I'm sorry, I
Great
have to
man
I have to
theory, I
tag
hate
in
it.
just really quickly.
go for it.
We still follow orders from people who shit in holes in the ground.
Right.
Carry
Yeah.
on.
Right.
Carry
Yeah.
on.
Facts. You're getting peer pressured by a bunch of fucking dead people, fam.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Fucking
one of my things is, if it's not if you're not liberating everyone, you're liberating no one. Because
Yes.
like
Yes.
all of this shit is interconnected. And like this
Wow.
whole individualist versus community dichotomy, I've thought for a while now that it's basically bullshit because
Yeah.
you cannot have one without the other. You cannot
True.
be an individual by yourself unless you're gonna fucking go out in the forest and just, live off the land. But even then,
Exactly.
like you're gonna die and there's not gonna
Nobody
be
will
anyone
Yeah,
come to
around
your
that's
you.
funeral.
that's
You-
what I told the
yeah.
ANCAPs. It's like you're an individual. Okay, let me drop you off in the Everglades with a K bar. A crocodile will be
Yeah,
shitting you out by
exactly.
sunrise.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
like you're gonna
Uh,
die completely
no,
alone,
no,
and like
no.
your life will be no more than the blip of a bulb that's
Right.
burned out faster than it could
on
make
that,
any
You
useful light.
you think you're gonna build
on
the
that.
Shire in a giant castle and be Snow White, but
Yeah,
what's actually gonna
exactly.
happen is by week 3 you're gonna die of a fucking broken leg like it's Oregon Trail.
And then
Yep.
also, bro, those are the same people who are like my rights. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then you really
My
experience
liberties.
how rights.
My liberties.
Yeah,
Mhm.
your only right, your only inherent right is to fucking go out and die. You know, like
Yep.
that's
Mutual
really
aid.
all that it is.
Peter Kropotkin's Mutual
And
Aid, Magic City
uh
Murals.
huh.
Yeah, humans are naturally
Oh
communal.
God, I need to read that because like I've got kind of the Cliff's Notes version in my head, but I've been meaning to read it for ages.
Likewise, I won't front. I'm on my pseudo intellectual vibes. There's mad books that I've read like Spark Notes and shit from, but I haven't
Mm.
sat and read cover to cover yet. The most
Yeah,
recent book
same.
that I read actually cover to cover like that, and it's a little embarrassing, but I'll admit
Mm.
it. I read Medical Apartheid in I want to say
Ooh.
2018 cover to cover,
Ooh.
and I had a bunch of notes and stuff written down, and I want to do a stream about it
Ooh.
eventually.
Ooh.
But
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah. The last book I read cover to cover, and I actually did it on stream, was Graeber's Death: The First 5,000 Years. Damn, that shit rocks.
mm.
Oh,
Next on my
goddamn it.
list, because I got it downstairs, my roommate's got it. He's got a copy of Black Shirts and Reds, and I've wanted to read that for a minute. So,
Mm.
Something I want to read for a stream is A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich.
mm.
I don't know if anyone's had the pleasure,
Mm-mm.
I
but
am not familiar with that title.
it's a window into it's a titular. It's a day in the life of a man named Ivan Denisovich. Ivan Denisovich is a prisoner working in the communist bloc, and it
Okay.
shows you what it's like to have to work and eat
In a gulag?
and trade. Yeah, and not in a gulag, in a work camp
Work
Okay.
camp.
in
Well, same
like
thing.
Siberia. Yeah,
Yes.
and it's such a wonderful story and look into the window of also public domain coming up is going to be well, not public domain but free for free use, is going to be Ralph Baki's titles. So Fritz the Cat is back on the menu, boys and girls.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
Also such wonderful titles as Such Skin, which we can't say on Twitch, but another great
Mhm.
another great title. There's a bunch of stuff. I really, really suggest watching it, especially Fritz. Fritz has a lot of interviews from actual Black Panther members.
Mhm.
And what Ralph
Nice.
Bakshi did, he was a refugee from the one of the genocide attempts overseas. I'm pretty sure he's Palestinian back in the 80s. And maybe Zionist. I think it was a Zionist issue. And
Mhm.
so he was here as a refugee, and he went through New York and just asked people if he could record them, and then animated around the recordings.
Mhm.
So you're literally getting a window straight into 1978 New York,
Uh-huh.
1976 New
Awesome.
York, something like that. Might be
Last
worth taking a look at.
thing I read was called The Rise and Fall of Pax Americana.
Oh, I read a pamphlet called Gramsci's Black Marx, which was basically about how a lot of what Marx wrote fails because he doesn't account for the difference between a slave and a worker.
Exactly.
And some dumb said Prankster versus Autocrats was really good.
Okay, we have a book club start. We should do that,
I mean,
Gus.
yeah,
We should do that, Gus.
real Gus vibes, you know what I mean?
Oh, dude.
I'm in.
And we can read it in accents to make it funny, because that's what I like to do. I gotta have some fun, or I just can't, you know.
Right,
You know.
right. That's why I love Arun too. He's funny as shit. Shout out Arun Anno.
I was so happy that he popped in, and then he goes, "Oh, it's an actual linguist." Like, it made him so happy that
No
you just
doubt.
wanted to let him keep talking. It didn't matter what he said.
Like, no cap, because we were getting kind of surface level into that conversation. The conversation he and I were having when I went live before that, before I raided into you. Because we were talking about, Tamil and all that stuff. But that was high key the most interesting shit that I've seen on this platform so far.
I'm so happy that happened on my stream.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you for just being willing to come over and visit. It's usually any visit here is usually extra.
But that's why
that
this
was
shit's
really
important,
special to me.
because that wouldn't have happened if we weren't making an effort to all reach out to each other, you know.
That's exactly it. That's why we're gonna talk. We need to talk.
Have you guys?
I never, as a linguist, get to sit with a language learner who invested himself, learned his own language in 9 months. I never get to do that. So I was just sort of touched, genuinely. That's my life's work, and here comes somebody, and I thought, look at that.
It was definitely like I just was sitting in silence a lot of the time because I was just listening to you. Like every time I talk to Arun, my brain melts and falls out of my ears
into a pretzel.
But
he's a Gus streamer then. Yes, that's what happens here. It's pretzels. That's it. That's what happens. But
that conversation specifically was like I was zombied out, just like sponged up listening to y'all.
Sponged up, exactly. And it was like the vindication of my life's work is to have a speaker of a culture choose to reclaim his own native language. You have no idea what that meant to me.
That shit's powerful as fuck.
And that's why I just enjoyed that.
I think
has anyone
Downer was
read? Yeah, has anyone read any Anthony Robbins lately?
Not familiar.
Tony Robbins was
Tony
personal
Robbins,
life coach.
That guy.
Yeah. I say Anthony Robbins. I was rereading the Power of Positive Thinking just a couple of months ago. But at the place where I'm at now, I realized it's like a manual to existing in like capitalist America. You know what I mean? Like what are the social preconceptions of America? You know what I mean? I think it's really telling if you look at it as like an informative document, not as like a self-help book.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Mark Fisher's Capitalist Realism, I hear it talks a lot about that same exact topic.
Well, yeah, let's see. Our reading list last 3 weeks was the stories behind the words, expressions, and cliches. Why do we say it? Some obsolete version of the Holy Bible, the Quran, Black Elk Speaks, and Emma G's Anarchism and other essays. So far.
Ooh, you read some Goldman. That's some OG shit right there.
Yeah, that Emma Goldman, it hits different. Racism Without Racist is good, Globus. I want to read that one myself too.
Yeah, me too. It sounds like it's back to Fanon. Johnny Cash and the Great American Contradiction. Oh, yeah.
Black Skin, White Masks is also a really good phanon as
Oh, of
well.
course it is. But
The only book I actually
Sounds
own
like the
is,
name of my autobiography.
it does, Downer. I was
Out of
just thinking of
curiosity,
you. Yeah, it's what it reminds
out
me
of
of.
curiosity, anyone or any of you read Sakai's Settlers: The Myth of the White Proletariat?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard of that, but that sounds pretty fucking fire. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Jay Sakai. I think he was a Chinese or Chinese American. I don't remember. Uh, MLM uh thinker and author, and did a whole thing on basically like again, it's only spark notes. I haven't read the whole thing, but the idea being that like every time the white proletariat would have a chance, in American history to to have or to act in solidarity with the rest of the working class, they basically take the side of the bourgeois, and he's laying out this entire American history and being like, yeah, so this whole white proletarian thing doesn't actually exist, at least not in any you know any material sense.
Yeah.
You mean there's no working class? What?
No, that the again, I know you don't like the word or the term white for this, but in this case, that's what the way he was putting it. Basically, every time the white working class would have a chance to act in solidarity with any other part of the working class, black, indigenous, gay. I'm blanking on
What?
the various intersections.
A working
They
class.
So,
yeah,
if you're
Ooh,
interested in Baltimore is actually an insanely good example of that. So Baltimore had the first segregation laws on the books in America. I would recommend
right,
the book Not in My Neighborhood.
right.
That's about Baltimore, but also there's another content creator who's one of my favorite black anarchist content creators on YouTube. Shout out to Alki. He did a video about the video is called "The Case of a Colored Co-op," and it's about Frederick Douglass, who worked in he was a ship caulker, and essentially what happened was
well, yeah,
Wait. Did you say ship caulker?
yeah. So
Just
you
a second. Just a second. Just so chat understands what you just said. This is what
yeah,
he's saying. There.
that okay, yeah.
Not shit talker.
Right.
Okay.
you need to be quiet.
So
Sorry.
so they were all workers, and what's fucked is that when there's a lot of work, when work is good, white people get the priority for the good jobs, of course, but when work is slow and there's not much work, black people still get fucked because they'd rather hire the white people. So what ended up happening is that the Irish and like the Irish Catholics and the Italians decided that while they could have had solidarity with the former
No.
slaves and African
Yeah.
ship caulkers and stuff here, they would rather hop on the other side of the fence, right? So the African they had to have a colored co-op. They formed this co-op. They got one
Right.
investor. I think he gave them $1 million to start their company, and it was a workers co-op with Frederick Douglass
Right.
working there. And
Right.
yeah, that's
Right.
the kind of stuff that happens. And it
Right.
was so successful, they ended up actually hiring white people.
Right. Right.
But
And
yeah,
most people, that's not what they think of when they think of Frederick Douglass. And I said he was so union. It was incredible.
right.
And
Frederick
his
Douglass had his
arguments were
problems, but
complete economically viable, dude. And he just was like, I don't. And I went, dude, you're banging your heart against some mad bugger's wall. Because at the end of the day, you still a black man, like Chris Rock. All right, you still a black man, Rufus. At the end of the day, that pissed me off. Learning about that. That was
yeah.
one of those just galled my ass because I went.
Yeah.
He was right. It was economically viable. The same argument is later used for allowing women to work in men's spaces. And it worked when it was applied to, ironically, it worked when it was applied to women. It failed when it applied when it was applied for black people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also an economic argument in the late 40s to, hey, business people, let's show you the demographic of your black consumer. You would be surprised at if you. It was a great big propaganda, beautifully done. And it's just ironic that it takes turns going from we'll oppress blacks. No, let's oppress women. We're oppressing women. Okay, give black a little room. We're oppressing black. Let's give women a little room. They take turns, and then they go Indians, kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them.
It's all to
Look,
drive
dude,
a wedge.
from our perspective, you all got a 50-50 fucking chance, but we got nothing.
Right.
And I insist on putting that on the table time and time again, as we lose ourselves yet again in these political contexts. Hence, why is this apolitical? Well, because we couldn't get a word in edgewise is why. So let me just throw that card while I'm doing my Sudoku. But that'll be another book we can read in a circle.
Right.
See how easy it is to just eliminate. Ooh. Why? Not showing up anywhere. Ever. Except here.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, then some dumb's kind of saying what I wanted to say is whiteness itself it doesn't fucking mean anything, right? If you go to like I should probably be careful how I say this because Europeans gonna Europe. But like, if you go to fucking Scotland and ask the Scottish, like, call a random Scottish person a white person, be like, "What the fuck? I'm Scottish." Like, you can be any whatever ethnicity, like Ukrainian, Lithuanian, fucking whatever. But whiteness itself was invented to be in opposition to blackness. And blackness has the same richness of history, right? There's Ghanaian people, there's Cameroonian people, there's fucking, you know what I mean? We're a diaspora, but we get crunched down into blackness because that was how that system was designed. And you know, I've talked about epigenetic trauma. I forget the woman's name at the moment right now, but she did kind of a talk that featured Harriet A. Washington, that featured medical apartheid, but she was talking about how that blowback affected white people too. So when you see postcards of lynchings, that's fucked up. It's
you know where
fucked
those come from. You know where those come from too, right? Where did they lynch them? Do y'all know this? People rejected the telephone. All right, they did not want these fucking poles up anywhere on their properties. And so when the government said, "No, we're going to build them in the name of progress," they said, "Really? We're going to use them to lynch and hang black people." It looked like the Apian fucking way, and that's where those fucking postcards came from.
Damn, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there's a whole. You want to see it? You want to see the whole archive? It's just I
can't even imagine.
Used it to lynch and hang black bodies.
Yeah, but the thing she was saying is that it's disgusting. Obviously, in and of itself, it's disgusting. You see the burnt hanging body. You see all the white people picnicking around it and stuff. But didn't you see the children?
Yeah.
That have no context for any of that shit. They're just absorbing it.
Right.
The white children, that is. Like,
right.
Yes, and so they have to carry that trauma through life too. And that's why they continue to dehumanize us even to this day. You'll find medical textbooks that say that African Americans, you don't have to give us as much painkillers because we feel pain differently. We're probably just trying to fiend for perks or whatever.
Fucking shit is that?
Right. It's because they can't cope with what they have done and what they still do to us. So they have to.
Nazis.
Right. They have to view us as less than human to make all that shit acceptable.
It's also a hunter's neurosis as well. Correct.
That's true.
Some indigenous tribes objectify animals. A lot of them in Africa. Now the animal is lower, always, and then we can hunt and eat them, and they're distinctly a threat. Navajo, same thing. Cree, we revere them as ancestors. See that? but we're reacting to the same thing.
Right.
And yes, you can revere and objectify a human being, of course. It's just what humans can do.
Yep. That's one
You
of my
can you
favorite
can
quotes.
you can reify an inanimate object too. It's the same thing.
One of my favorite quotes is "Dog is man's best friend. It doesn't mean that man doesn't see himself as a superior animal."
Exactly. Well, isn't that the white man's burden, right? And that's the
Yeah.
pedigree, right? The pedigree that offends me so much.
Yep.
I see that what was done to the dog was done to other humans, as if they used the animals to practice first
I
in
mean,
preparation for the great white whateverness. Yeah.
it's fucked up, but it's kind of a point of pride for me too, knowing that that I have that direct connection to my family and knowing everything I know about my family. That like I am the result of like several generations of trying to breed the strongest, biggest like worker possible for the field.
Hmm.
What do
And
they call that? The mambo?
I'm not sure.
Mandingo. Mandingo.
Mandingo,
Yeah,
right?
bingo.
Because my grandmother's husband, or her former husband, her first husband, my mother's father, my grandfather, who had the mother who was a slave, who was the Choctaw slave. His nickname was Punch, because he used to straight up run down like squirrels and stuff in the wild and kill them with his bare hands, because that's the only way sometimes that him and his sisters would be able to eat. And he was a bad motherfucker. And a lot of people, there is no weak people in my family. Everyone in my family is like fucking like strong as shit, like able bodied as shit. And it's like a point of pride that I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm unfuckwittable, but like I'm definitely like at least like 15-20% ass beat. I'll say that much.
I had to work for my ass beat. I started doing Muay Thai.
I feel that. I had to work for that. I did, before my homie left for the Navy, we did a little Muay Thai, a little Krav Maga, just cause, and a little little BJJ.
What's up?
But my grandmother's father, who was his name was John Vaughn. The Markhams were the ones that I know for a fact were like my grandmother, my grandmother's mother, my grandmother's mother's father, and his father as well. 4 generations on that plantation. Those were the Markhams. But John Vaughn was such a bad motherfucker that when he decided that he'd had enough with the sharecropping shit, he held their landlord at gunpoint, and then they ran off the plantation under cover of night that night. But he had a stroke later in his life, and he used to keep a cinder block next to his rocking chair on the porch. So even if you wanted to try him, he would still fight you. He would just fuck your shit up with that cinder block.
I think I heard about that man.
I talk about him a lot. I'm so I can't remember exactly, because I've talked to you about not really being comfortable claiming a lot of what I thought were stereotypes that my family repeated and other people repeat about me, about like having little facial hair, having resistance to poison ivy, that kind of stuff, and being indigenous, right? Because the other thing is that, like we were talking about earlier, part of the intention of enforcing that hegemony was convincing people that, like, I had the understanding that indigenous people and black people were 2 entirely separate groups with completely different histories in the country, and it's not true.
Well,
And then I went to my family history, and my ex-partner, who was my best friend, her father gave me a book called Black Indians that kind of changed my life. And then that's when I started actually doing like the ancestry and trying to talk to the elders in my family and stuff. And I got really, really deep into,
right. You found out the blood and the bones.
and especially because as a black and or indigenous person, the entire purpose of the cultural hegemony that, like, we're not the hegemon. So the entire purpose of all that shit is to convince us that we're worthless and that we shouldn't be interested in any of that shit. It doesn't have any meaning. So of course, once you find out what those people went through, and in some cases you know them, you can still talk. Like, I can call my grandmother. I wouldn't call her right now; she's asleep as fuck. But I can call my grandmother and talk to her tomorrow, and it's like having grown up with them and knowing what they were like and their hobbies and their interests and their experiences and stuff. You can't not be proud of that, of what they went through. And
Yeah.
and people get really fucked up about the black pride or indigenous pride or whatever, because they are super fucking horny to compare it to white pride, and it's like, it's literally the complete opposite. Like,
They want us to lose, and
right.
we're not losing, and we're not dead, and it just bothers them.
Yeah,
They think we're sore losers.
that they didn't assimilate us and we didn't just die. They tried and they were successful in some areas, like I was saying earlier about the Christianity shit, where there was that syncretism where we literally weren't allowed to practice our shit, but we figured out if we dress it up a little bit, make some of the Loa into saints, right?
Which
And
we
then-
did.
Right, yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that's why, because I was, like I said, I was a staunch atheist. I was in the atheist plus shit. Like, I was in all of that, and actually learning about the history of our people, and why those certain things are the way they are, and just certain little idiosyncrasies directly from my family, right? Like, my mom, she does this thing, because my mom is convinced that she's just like Baptist, like Christian, she loves Christ, all that stuff, and I have to tell her all the time, like, that's epigenetic trauma shit. Like, that's just how it looks, but that's not actually what you're doing. Because she'll do this shit. If someone dies, she'll get soil from their grave, or rocks from their grave. And it was nothing she learned from anyone. She told me to my face, like, it's nothing anyone taught me to do or told me to do. I just felt compelled to do it one time and then have been doing it. And I was like, that was the ancestors talking to you.
She didn't like that too much, huh?
Nah, she doesn't like when I talk like that, but
It's spooky to her,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's spooky shit to her.
And I feel like it's also just like painful to confront if you're
Yeah.
not ready and willing to confront it the way that people who
Yeah.
have been studying it are, you know what I mean?
Oh, colonization, it just knocked the spirituality right the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
It's the same way they killed all of our sorcerers and convinced us that they were all very evil people, when in fact it was the opposite.
Right.
Now you got all these stupid ass taboos, about shit that was like, and it created the division, which is in the stream label: traditionals versus contemporary.
Right.
And one of them
Roxy.
definitely has to do with spiritual practices and animism, and
That's correct, Roxy. I fuck with you, Roxy.
they used to say, your culture's gone, just move on.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Just get over it, right?
Just get over it.
Slavery was forever ago. It's like, motherfucker, my grandmother is still alive.
It's
Yeah,
not
for real.
to her.
That part.
Exactly. Dude, exactly. So why don't you I should just delete my grandmother.
Right. Are you going to
How
yeet my
con-
grandmother? Because
How convenient for them that we do that. Oh, I'll just commit genocide on her for you.
right.
Yeah,
It's
perfect.
like, good luck, because my grandmother's going to fuck you up.
Right?
Or she might
Right.
pull out that 38.
She might get her brick,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, there's a lot of that, and it's the thing is, why would you put effort into doing that to somebody when it's completely unnecessary? And why would you obsess on shit like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, where is the insult? Where is the affront to your character coming from exactly? Why do you got to continually monitor the purity of your whiteness? What the fuck? But things that are white constantly need polishing. So
Right.
I'm like, it's because it's tarnished. So you can rub all you want, but that little black spot's not coming off, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
That
as
stain is gonna spread. Keep doing it, right?
Just as an anecdote, because Roxy said I wouldn't fuck with your grandma. She's seen too much shit to be fucked with. When I tell you, so I'll tell two stories really quick. The first is like just like quick. My grandmother told me for fun when they were kids on the beat, what they used to do was dig snakes out of the mud and throw them at each other. And
Right.
you just had to hope that it wasn't a moccasin, that it was at just a yellow belly, right? And she said one time one of her friends actually caught one. It was a moccasin that tagged her on a thumb, and her thumb was like the size of a sausage and had to get
Uh-huh.
amputated. But
Uh-huh.
she also told me another story one time. You might know what this is. Do you know what dowsing is?
Yeah.
So she calls it hunting money.
Yep.
So she said because she's the youngest of 10 kids. She said she was out with her older brothers and sisters one day. It was like three of them or four of them in total. Her oldest siblings like moved along, joined the military, did all that stuff. But they were out hunting money, and they, got something. Their rod went towards the soil and stuff. So they were like, all right, let's start digging. And she said they were digging for a little while, got maybe 2 or 3 feet down when they hit something. They hit something metal and realized pretty quickly that it was something clearly intended to be like a memorial. Like it was some kind of grave or something, right?
Uh-huh.
And she said, right at that moment, a white horse with flames coming out of its mouth and eyes, like a fucking ponyta, comes running out of the tree line towards them. And they take off running like full tilt because they're so scared. And they make it to the other tree line from this clearing and get to the trees to hide and stuff before they finally turn back and see that the horse has now laid down in the hole that they made. So they leave and they come back the next day to the same spot and find out that the ground there was untouched. Like it looked like no one had removed a single grain of soil from that area. It was completely covered back up.
Ooh.
Yeah, my grandmother has seen some shit.
Ooh. Wow. That sounds like the South,
What up, Duck Under?
you know? The kind of things we used to see.
Yeah, my grandmother was a
Off
nurse
the
for like
rip.
20 years too.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Those are old
Wild.
stories.
Yeah, this would have been like 40s, 50s maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
Yeah,
got
be
me
well,
thinking
Big
about all
Richie.
kinds of stuff.
What up, Ben?
Yeah, we got a lot of stories like that. Stuff you just wouldn't believe, you know?
Right.
Because you could go out and play like that, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And do things like that. You know, you'd be gone till 10 o'clock at night, right? Nobody
Right.
came looking for you. Do you know what I mean? They knew you knew how to find your way home. And, you know, you'd be out there and your whole life would have changed by the time you came home. That's how you grow up. Dang. Wow. Wow.
That shit's no joke. That shit real life.
Hell yeah.
Real life, yeah. Right. Not today's. Today's world is cold and artificial. You
My
know.
grandmother's also super, super
They
superstitious
called me in
too.
high school, Edie.
She
What? Go ahead.
I was gonna say my grandmother is also. It's funny because she's super Christian. You know what I mean? She's got her Christ portrait and stuff in her house and everything.
Aw.
But
Yeah.
she's also super, and I mean super wary of people doing root work, like laying tricks on you.
Hoodoo. Yeah.
Yeah. So she before my oldest aunt died, when she was on dialysis and stuff, and she got really skinny and got really sick out of nowhere, my grandmother was convinced someone laid a trick on her.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
just other little like not really bizarre, but just like things that you wouldn't have an explanation for until you saw it in that context.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm fully aware of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a way of life.
Like
Absolute way of life.
that was I was cuz I'm the one of the only boys in that part of the family. My mom is all sisters, my grandmother, and then there's me. So I was the first boy in a couple of generations, because my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother's mother was from that generation as well. And one of the first things they told me when I started dating was not to eat any food that was prepared by a woman
Yes.
until I absolutely trusted that person. And I thought it was just I was like, she gonna poison me? Like the fuck? And I didn't understand what that meant until way later.
Here's a weirder one. There's a whole context behind it, but in New Orleans, except for your wife, don't ever let a woman do your laundry on a Monday.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Same thing. Same
Interesting.
thing.
When I hear those sorts of cautionary warnings, my first question is always why. What happens if I let a woman do laundry on a Monday? What
Which one do you,
happens if I let someone who isn't my wife cook me a meal? Like, what the hell's gonna happen? I
which
don't
one do
get
you
it.
want to which one do you want to do first? Maybe do the laundry one first, because
I'm
it's probably not as
I'm more
gross.
curious about the laundry one, honestly.
It's probably not as
Okay.
gross.
A single man lets a woman do his laundry on a Monday. So she's got him. He belongs to her. From that moment on, everything he does because that's what she wants him to do. Her and her sisters. His life is no longer
A
his own.
sim spell?
It's no longer his own. Yeah. It's a kind of a
A sim
possession
spell.
Hmm.
possession love spell.
And the
It's not a
food,
spell, they'll also use a certain substance. So it's not good.
right? With the food thing, it's also kind of a spell thing, where it's like a love spell. Now the backfire I've
Uh-huh.
heard is that usually the when you do this to a man, it'll work, but he'll become so obsessed with you he'll end up hurting you or killing you somehow.
Correct. Yeah, that's it. It has it. Yeah, that's why in New Orleans it has to be sisters.
Right. But
Yeah, that thing about him being so obsessed, that reminds me of like the classic love potion, backfire.
that's what it is.
Yeah, like practical
Yeah.
magic. Yeah.
There's two I know of. There's a thing called sweat rice that's more of a thing in like the Caribbean,
Hmm.
but essentially, you know how a rice maker works, right?
Hmm.
A woman will stand over the rice maker and just kind of let her like juices
Hmm.
go into the rice,
Hmm.
and then when you eat that, now you're under the spell.
Hmm.
And
Same with
also,
bread. Same
right,
with bread.
and spaghetti, a woman will put her like menstrual blood in the spaghetti sauce, and then when you
Mhm.
eat it, now she's done root work on you. You're under the spell
Part of
now.
it. Part
That's
of
why.
it.
Well, yeah, part of it. That's why. If you there's one like Kevin Gates music video that they had. It was like this man eating spaghetti, like this dude with a woman behind him forcing him to eat spaghetti. When he looked like a zombie. He had the blank look on his face and everything. And yeah, the people had a
Right.
field day with that one.
Right. 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 Yeah. No. Yeah. That's nah. Hoodoo would be herb. That would be more like voodoo
Right.
or even
Thank you, Ben,
condomble.
or welcome rather,
Correct.
Ben.
Yeah. For sure.
Oh yeah,
At least in New Orleans, that's yeah.
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 I couldn't remember. Yeah. I think the differences just depends on the area. Like if you go to South America, it's Sambo or and in the Caribbean it's hoodoo. In the States it's voodoo, but in West Africa it's still Vodun.
Vodun, it's Vodun.
Okay.
Vodun from Yoruba. When you go to Haiti, it's often pronounced voodoo. When you do just herbalism in the American South, it's called hoodoo.
Okay.
And then you have candomblé, considered by all to be the darkest of the arts. And then you have, of course, Santeria. So you have all of that. But then there's others, but those are the main practices that distributed geographically that people are mostly familiar with. Hoodoo is the one that does not require black goats or choking chickens or any of that. Hoodoo is herbalism. Okay, but if you got voodoo, or as we say voodoo, then you're going to have a gris-gris, you're going to have a mojo, you're going to have a feve. Okay.
There's a lot of Santeria practitioners in my family.
They're not veves, but I have sigils. I have a bunch of sigil tattoos.
That level of mysticism.
Santeria isn't down awesome. I understand that's very, very popular in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I'm Taino blood, so I'm native without even having the fate of being Native American.
Right.
And
you were the first.
Yeah.
That's hella solidarity because Sorry, I was gonna say that reading a lot of the shit, not a lot of it pisses me off. But when I read about Don Pedro Albizu Campos and what they did to him, that pissed me off really bad. Like, that was some of the wildest shit. Like, yeah.
Yeah, bro, shit gets wacky and wavy out on those islands, bro. I gotta tell you.
Yeah. So, while we're talking about, just to throw out another book, War Against All Puerto Ricans is crucial reading.
Man,
I really think that it's both a blessing and a curse. I mean, we're basically just there to stop Russia from launching nukes, but at the same time, we've learned to
what up, Duck Hunter?
Coexist. You know,
you're a bush doctor. You're from St. Lucia, right on.
Has a poli-sci degree, and she's involved in Puerto Rican politics pretty heavily. Ooh. And she was telling me about how she's interested in coming on the show. I just haven't had the time to organize that, so we'll get that done at some point.
Nice.
But we were talking the other day, and she was telling me about how the island right now really functions as a socialist entity under capitalism, right? Mm-hmm. So on the face, it's very capitalist, right? And in the governing, it's very capitalist. But because it's such a capitalist environment, you have to resort to socialist living, right? And so basically, how this ties in is they've resorted to not really resorted because that makes it sound negative, right? But they've adapted to basically retaining the Taino ways and the culture. You know, there's a heavy mess of Catholicism over there, but it's not overcome by, or Santeria is not overcome by that. You know, there's a lot of roots there.
Right on.
A lot of roots there. Taino. They say Taino people are gone. I said, no, they're not.
Nope.
No, they're not.
Definitely not.
I can promise you that.
Yeah,
not true.
I can definitely confirm that there are still Taino people for sure.
Oh yeah, it's just like the Acadians.
Yep.
They think we're a myth too, and I'm like, Mm-hmm.
Ben Jerome in the chat is actually from St. Lucia. I'm saying he's a bush doctor.
No way.
That's pretty cool.
All right.
Oh, it is pretty cool. So, I'm talking about black revolutionaries. I see that Bannon wrote in the era of decolonization when the world Black people, certainly African, never thought this could happen, and it
Right.
happens. And um, I wonder, we're talking about colonies and the persistence of cultural lifeways and traditions
I have a
in the
broken
face of
finger, Ben.
resistance. We're talking about Chango in Haiti and the Haitian Revolution. And we're talking about that
I have a
manifestation of the
broken knuckle.
female uh, goddess or Ifa or Orisha.
Orisha. Yeah.
Um, she wasn't an Orisha. She had to be new. She was a new manifestation, which is the proof of a thriving culture that it's
Hmm.
able to evolve and adapt. And so there's suddenly a new Orisha, never before seen in Haiti. Right? She leads the revolution. Wow. And so what does Black revolutionary thought um have to say about decolonization? Does it see a parallel?
Absolutely.
And how is that? So go ahead and tell us.
The wretched of the earth, at least
Yes.
from, yeah, I was gonna say from what I've read of it so far, it definitely drink sour sop leaves. I'll do that. But basically, he speaks directly about colonized people, and that's actually what Black Skin White Masks is about. Is
Mhm,
the effect of colonized people and or the
mhm,
effects of colonization on indigenous people
mhm,
and the struggle
mhm,
of essentially having to absorb that cultural hegemony as a means of survival. I'm not entirely sure he would have put it in those terms, but that's essentially what he wrote about. And when it comes to decolonization, I kind of feel like so in modern times, I feel like it more so has to do to deal specifically with that, with the cultural hegemony, with the fact that we exist in a global society now, whether we like it or not. We more or less always been heading in that direction, but now more so than ever. And I feel like when we talk about decolonization, it starts with decolonization of individual minds, right? And then from there you can move to communities and then maybe small infrastructures, and eventually you get to a point where it's more or less about the determination of the sovereignty of the colonized people and their
mhm,
ability to say we don't want to exist in this society under this paradigm anymore.
mhm,
And that's actively happening. We get fucked because they've destroyed so much of our tradition and our culture and our heritage.
uh-huh,
But that's the Afrofuturism. That's the Anarchata shit. Is that we take what we have, and like you were saying, the when you can create something new, that's the sign of a healthy and thriving culture. So what Afrofuturism asserts is that we essentially are taking the pieces and what's useful from modern culture and what is not useful and moving forward with that and creating something completely new, entirely different that's beneficial for the diaspora,
synthesis.
but also challenges that entire framework of social organization in the first place.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you, Ben.
All these structures. And then you have, decolonization happens. And then you have the tools of the master.
Right. I feel like I feel like white people, the decolonization conversation fucks them up because
Uh-huh.
a little bit because of white supremacy, where they view the revocation of their privilege as oppression, but
Mm-hmm.
also because the other like kind of white supremacist talking point of racial revenge, where
Mm-hmm.
they think that we're super horny to revisit upon them all the
Hmm.
same misery and
I
injustice
know.
and horror that they've done to us for several
Yeah,
generations,
they always point to South Africa.
when the main point that all of us have always ever said is, yo, just let us do us. Like, we just want to fucking party and make art and chill and just
Gamble
vibe.
and eat
Right.
and have
I
babies and
have
stuff. So
one
Right.
right.
word for y'all. I have just one word for y'all. Projection.
Yes. Every accusation is an admission.
Exactly. It's an exposure.
Self-report.
When you point your weapon, you have to temporarily expose your position. Mhm. It looks like Amazing Wolf. There's that Chud trying to send him disturbing imagery or something.
Oh Jesus.
So I don't know that fucker.
Yeah,
I don't
not
know if
not not
Carpe
all
is
you
still
duck
here.
hunter. Sorry. Yeah. When I say white
Yeah.
people, I don't mean like every individual person who looks white. I'm talking specifically about the political category of whiteness, and even then, every it's not every person that you would clock as white. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So yeah, not all of us. I get it.
Um.
Thank you,
So
Captain
can
Jackass.
somebody go over and help Skeptic? Who this guy's just sending nasty shit to him. Evidently, I don't know if you're reading chat.
Got something to show you, probably.
Yeah, don't share shit, man.
Yeah.
So the thing is sending him something. So, and that's what he tries to do. So, I don't know if you have. I don't know what community that is for Skeptic, but
And I don't know.
is
It's like
is Carpe still here? Is anybody good?
I
When he
just
can't
wish
get
these
anywhere,
people
he
would find
resorts
something
to
better to
that.
do. I truly wish these people would find
That
something better to
exact
do.
same message from that Shadowmon. Like, yeah, he goes out of his way to try and rile you up. The best thing you can do is
It's
just
just
delete
ignore
the
him.
message and move on.
Yeah,
Where?
just ignore
Ignore
him.
him.
How,
Do not
how,
give him that power.
how did he send the message?
Probably whispered it, I would imagine.
In my case, he sent it via Twitch DMs.
Yeah, so he's whispering people.
How did how did Skeptic get the message? The nasty message.
He did not say.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking him.
So, oh yeah, gotcha.
I'm
Carpe,
just.
do you know how to help Skeptic get rid of Chedamon?
You
That
could
thing
block
that
him.
followed you here?
I know you can
Block. I
block
said
people.
block ban report. Block report ban.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like you're not gonna stop us. You know what I mean? And
No. And
like
you're not
why?
gonna really. Yeah. You're just gonna be ugly.
Yeah, it's like you're putting so
I
much
just wish,
effort into just being a mild nuisance that we talk about for
yeah,
a split
and
second and
it's
move on.
outdated, dude. It's outdated. That's the
Two
funniest
years
part, right?
old.
Like, update your memes, please. Like,
Yeah.
It's 2 years old. Some of these references, which no, OG Prodigy confirmed that is the 23 centimeter chud.
Okay.
So we know who it is now. So,
That's
but
fun.
the fuck he's even bothering to be over here.
I have a theory, but I'll keep it to myself for now.
Well, I think he just came to clean up what he missed the first time.
Yeah.
Cause, yeah. But he hangs around the really heavily political spaces, and there's another reason.
something that I
You know,
find kind of entertaining that I just kind of mused over is
mhm.
that I've experienced so much direct racism in person that e-racism really doesn't do anything to me anymore.
Dude,
Yeah,
exactly,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. I said this last night, like, fam, I've been in literal fistfights with actual neo Nazis. I've almost been
Yeah, I
shot.
got
I've
taped
almost
down
been
the
stabbed.
streets of Florida.
With the news,
Right. That's
jeez.
like I promise you're not giving it's not giving what it's supposed to give on here. Like if
Right,
I'm not in mortal danger, and even then you got to come with it. You got to
right,
Yeah, bro, you better be ready, Limpin.
yeah.
right, right. Exactly, exactly. There is something.
hot tea every morning to balance the nervous system. I've been thinking about doing that, but I was a barista, and so I was doing coffee for the longest. And being a barista and in that environment and that level of exploitation turned me off to coffee. But I have a friend who's vegan and really into the whole like holistic. Not, I guess I shouldn't say holistic, but he views how he eats and his diet and everything very meticulously, and he's a tea drinker, and he gave me some really nice some orange tea, and I got really into because I'm a caffeine junkie. I was into G Fuel, but I got into like Gyokuro green tea for a minute. So I might get back into tea every morning just because I fucking have ADHD, and so when
Same.
I can have like a regimen of like a reliable system that I just do and don't have to think about every day, it's very helpful to me. Cause like I'll forget to eat, I'll forget to shower. Like yeah, it's not great.
I'll forget to
By the
breathe
way, if you're a
sometimes.
caffeine
Wow.
junkie and looking at a good tea for that, check out yerba mate. It's a South
I've had,
American
I've had,
herbal.
yeah, mate is good. I had mate for the first time on Memorial Day this year, actually, with Big Richie Lizzie. Shout out to Big Richard Lizard Man. He got me my
Big
first
Richard
mate.
Lizard.
But mate is good. I was really into gyokuro. Like I was super into the green tea for a minute. That was really good for caffeine and just the like. I don't know. I fuck with matcha pretty heavy. And the whole like ritual, like using a tea whisk and just like the tea ceremony is pretty tight. I fuck with it.
Hmm. It's a great way
I
to
can't
focus
do it.
in the morning.
Can't do it.
I can't do it, bro. I don't drink tea. I'm a chemical caffeine guy. Shout out to the monster addicts out there.
Hey, the
You know,
Red
give
Bullers,
me my Red Bull.
the rock stars. I feel it.
That bang, let me get that. Let me get
I
that
feel it.
lab certified caffeine, please.
Here's
Bang!
one.
Get that
You could
DDP for
try
that ass.
the absinthe ritual.
Absinthe is cool. I was briefly into that because I had a friend that was really deep into it and told me about like using the sugar to make it loosh and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. 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 I didn't turn you on to beans.
I do making my bed. I make my bed every day just for
I
that
can't be
sense of
bothered.
it's for me it's an accomplishment thing. If I didn't do anything all day, I made my bed.
Oh, damn.
If I didn't do anything all day, I didn't do anything all day, and that sucks. I wish I was more productive.
Oh, yep, and Roxy actually says start every day with a task completed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Chamomile
I
blend.
completed
Chamomile.
that. I woke
Here,
up.
hi there.
Hello,
Hello.
Skadator. How you doing?
Shalom.
Yeah, I'm just hoping though somebody could help out Skeptic because if Skeptic's not used to that, that's incredibly disturbing.
Yeah.
That's true.
So don't leave him hanging.
The
You know.
best you can do is block ban or block report ban.
I don't know if he did because he didn't chat it. He didn't type anything else in it, but it's incredibly disturbing. You should have seen him what that motherfucker did with one of my guests who came online from a whole different category. Started calling her Jewish slurs and shit. She just was
Oh
like, I
yeah.
went, oh, just a minute. Let me show you what to do about that. I was like, what are you doing here? You're in the wrong category.
This
And he
person.
realized that and stopped, but it was like, here is Passato Bot, help yourselves. And they went, damn! And he added 127 new accounts. I went,
Yeah, he was whenever. So he follows Arun around, and whenever Arun and I talk, he'll throw out caste slurs, or he'll throw out like he did one yesterday that was like I guess an Indian slur for slave or like a Muslim slur for African slave or something. Yo, squid out of here. What's up?
and he follows Arun around?
He follows all of us around. It was something that I was
Oh,
made hip to.
so
He follows us from
okay,
stream to stream. Yeah.
okay, guys,
There
okay,
are
okay,
people. So there's a
I get
thing
it. All right.
you can use Chatterino. There's an exploit to use Chatterino where you can see what as soon as someone goes into the chat, you can see what chats people are going into and interacting with, even if they're not live. So like if I wasn't live right now, but I still came in just to hang out and chat and support and join the conversation there, it would still happen because they'd be able to see that I was in here.
So that's what he's using, because
Mhm.
that's exactly how he figures out what
Yep.
last place you were in. Except that when he come over here, this one, first of all, I get it, because when I came back on, I started making an effort to meet brand new streamers. And within a week, we have this fucking visitation. In the 2 years I've been streaming, we never had a chud or a troll. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, this is my first one too.
Oh.
I'm no stranger to hate raids. I got posted on like Stormfront or something when I was doing January 6th hearing coverage a couple years ago.
Oh my God, really?
This was on this was on YouTube though, so it was like it was not this. It was different to the point where I almost ended stream because Fade Runner was my only mod at the time. So it was just me and him trying to ban all these people, and we just couldn't. There was too many of them. It was like 50 people. It was nuts. Or rather, it was like 50 accounts because I'm sure it was like the same like 5 or 6 fucking losers just spamming like
3. It was 3 of them.
Yeah,
they were actually arrested.
Just spamming like banana emojis and monkey emojis and all that kind of stuff.
And then sexually explicit, graphic, violent. They crash your disc, the whole thing.
All the different variations that you can do of the N word with the different characters without it getting automatically starred out or whatever.
Oh, they were running it like macros. It was super fast.
Yep.
Right? But
That
okay, so now I
time,
understand where that infection fucking came from. All right, so I was baffled. I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? This motherfucker, though, all right,
I'll mod you.
He does not. This motherfucker comes from a community that was on permaban 2 fucking years ago. All his shit is old. And when he comes in here to, like as if he was talking to me, he seems a little lost. And I'm like, that's because you don't know me and you don't belong here. You're in the wrong place. Stay in your lane. Even for chuds, there are rules. Get the fuck out of this community. What are you doing? Right?
Like that thing, there's no rules in a street fight, but everyone likes to say, hey, stop that kicking shit.
Yo, you know what's funny?
See, exactly.
There was a fight, one of the first fights I got into. I dropped this dude with a liver kick, and his brother was so fucking mad. He was like, "What the fuck? You can't kick!" And my friends were like, "My brother in Christ, we are literally fighting in the street."
All right, I didn't mean to derail the whole conversation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It made me think of that, but yeah.
Well, we just need to, like, especially for my community, OG Prodigy is very well aware of this fucker. But that's another Gus thing. There's a lot of harassment because you have a lot of female streamers, you have a lot of streamers of color, a lot of neurodivergent streamers, and we all are low hanging fruit. So we want to make sure that anybody who tries to hang out doesn't get sideswiped by these fuckers. Because they are incredibly disturbing, and they're not easily dismissed because they tend to, if they can upset you, they won't stop.
Right.
And how do you tell somebody not to be horrified at the heinous ass shit they say and do? We lost one of the first people because she just could not stomach the shit that they did, and I went, dude, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. And Twitch itself took action against 3 of them with the hate raids, that whole thing that went on last year, where it was just nonstop, and we were like completely untouched. So this fucker didn't even know we existed. I think he came back to figure out, left a few crumbs.
Yeah.
Because of the old references. We're like, who? Shit, that motherfucker's not even on Twitch anymore. They got banned 6 months ago. What the fuck are you talking about? Where have you been? That kind of thing.
I'll say this much because I know that this person is watching. In terms for me,
Oh, wait. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
it's funny because coincidentally, this shit didn't start happening to me until I started interacting with this person on another platform. And now, coincidentally, weirdly coincidentally, whenever I interact with this person on this platform as well, or when I see other people interact with this person on this platform as well, it starts with them as well and seems to be connected to them somehow. I'm not sure if they're the one directly doing it all of the time, but they definitely have something to do with it. And like I said, I have my theories that I'm going to keep to myself for now. But I will say that it's a weird fucking coincidence that whenever that shit is happening, this person is not far.
Right.
And also the fact that it didn't start
we were,
happening to me until I
yeah.
started interacting with this person.
Mm-hmm. 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 We were privately duly informed of something, right?
Okay, so you
Of
know
someone.
you're sharp. All right, so I gotta. All right, say less.
Say, yeah, I see you start too, yeah. By the way, your friend Arun is on stream celebrating India's Independence Day right now.
Yeah, I was gonna raid into him after this because I actually probably gonna get ready to start winding down in a minute because I've been streaming for a couple hours and this one's pretty
I
decent
think that would be great. I know he'd really, really, really appreciate it.
for sure.
Nightwolf is over there too, modding.
He's been bouncing back and forth between mine and his.
Well, the way to kill a chud is to be happy. So
That's the
there's your
antithesis
friend.
to joy,
Uh-huh.
whether it's black joy, indigenous joy, whatever. That's the one thing that they hate to see the most. So,
So they can't kill hope.
right.
All right, folks. It is after 1:30 in the morning. I got to go to bed. Y'all have a
Likewise.
lovely night. It was great talking to you.
Likewise,
Oh, thanks,
definitely.
Uncle.
It was nice to meet you
Good
too,
night.
Downer.
Pleasure, dude. Pleasure. We
Oh,
should
yeah.
do something sometime.
Definitely, I'll
Yep.
give you a follow.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
three
If
of
y'all
you.
want to talk 3D printing, feel free
Right.
to.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I was trying to
hit
get
me
you
up,
three
'cause-
together. So do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I
because
was really
I had to replace a spool of filament, and then turns out my
Nice.
bed was had lost leveling, so now I'm just doing a test
Oh
print.
no.
Do you
But
have
yeah,
a?
I've been super into it last couple days.
Do you not have a BL touch sensor, or are you just doing that by
It
hand?
is on the way. It'll be here. It'll be here on Tuesday.
That
But
shit-
until then, I'm
That
I'm
shit
doing
was
it
a
by hand.
godsend. Yeah, that shit was a godsend.
Oh, I bet.
Because
I
having to
bet.
use a little card and shit is way too much of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, like I just use
I
a little piece
really-
of paper that I cut off of like printer paper, but it's still just a pain to have to go to each
Tweak all
corner
the
and
little
check
knobs,
it,
yeah.
and then you have to go around a second time because like adjusting one corner can mildly affect other corners, so
Yep.
you got to do it a couple of times to make sure everything is good, and it's just a pain. So yeah,
Yeah.
I cannot wait until I get that BL Touch.
I haven't touched my filament printers since I added my resin printers in. Basically.
That is entirely fair. Like
I was-
I've been curious about doing resin printing, but at the same time, like I do not want to deal with all the extra shit you got to do with the rinsing and the curing and all
I
that
was
shit.
just
So,
about to say I got a Anycubic Photon Mono X that I just haven't figured out how to actually get decent prints out of yet. I
You
got
know,
a couple test prints to kind of work, and I got one cool like Mortal Kombat medallion that I wanted to print, but I overexposed it, so the supports fucking fused into it. So I'm still.
I would recommend
I love you
checking out-
guys, but could you take the 3D printing combo?
Yeah,
over to
sorry.
Arun right now
I'm
because
sorry.
I'll ping you with a channel about that endless.
Cool.
Because there's a
alright.
good YouTube channel out there with some stuff about resin. So,
If you
anyways,
go- yeah.
Yeah, we'll get together.
For
yeah,
sure.
I'm glad you showed up, Downer. I was just saying, you three
Yeah.
get together.
Oh, yeah.
I told you I knew people. Go ahead, get together.
All right.
But
You
All
guys
right,
have a
Joel.
wonderful
Here we
evening.
You do the same.
okay,
All right, UD. Have a good night.
if you want to raid your buddies over there, I hope you guys have. I'm gonna watch to see if you get over there. Tell them I sent you.
All right, we'll do. All right, have a good night, UD.
You too.
All right, y'all. I'll catch y'all later today because it's technically Monday. But I'll catch y'all tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard time, same place, same vibes. For some Mortal Kombat because it's gonna be Mortal Kombat Mondays. Y'all ain't even know I was nice in Mortal Kombat, did you? I beat that ass in Mortal Kombat. So let's go ahead and raid Arun, our Tamil comrade, host with the most, friend of the show. Honestly, truly one of the most interesting people I've met on this platform. It's no longer Indian Independence Day because it's after midnight technically. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And be safe. Be well. And I'll see you guys